Chapter 1035. Reaching an agreement. Ning Yu. When the eight-legged centipede and earth-shaking bull saw Ning Yu being sent flying several feet away by the diamond ape, they hastily rushed out and caught Ning Yu. "I'm fine." Ning Yu pushed the eight-legged centipede and the earth-shaker away and walked toward the diamond ape. This time, Ning Yu walked very quickly and arrived at the diamond ape's side in an instant. He whispered, "Beast essence dispersal." What? The diamond ape originally wanted to kill Ning Yu, but when he heard Ning Yu say the words beast essence dispersal, his expression immediately changed. Beast essence dispersal is a type of medicine that specifically targets demonic beasts. Its medicinal effects are overbearing. Without paying attention to the diamond ape's shocked expression, Ning Yu continued, "Humans who consume beast essence dispersal will die immediately. Demonic beasts who consume beast essence dispersal will turn into puppet demonic beasts. In other words, they will be controlled by others. If my guess is correct, you have been afflicted with beast essence dispersal since several decades ago. Everything you do is beyond your control. Ning Yu, stop acting mysterious and spouting nonsense." The diamond ape said coldly, "I'll give you a chance to live. Be tactful. You should know the current condition of your body better than I do." Ning Yu waved his hand and interrupted the diamond ape's words. "The beast essence dispersal has already spread throughout your body. If you can't expel it in time, you may not live for more than 3 days." The diamond ape was startled, and large beads of sweat appeared on its forehead. Suddenly, the diamond ape shouted angrily, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Six-winged sky soaring python, go kill this brat." "Yes." Upon receiving the order, the six-winged sky soaring python immediately flew out and roared as it launched a powerful attack at Ning Yu. "Come out." Looking at the six-winged flying python flying toward him, Ning Yu's mind jolted, and he controlled the two small flying pythons in his storage ring to fly out. When they were in the Beast King Palace, there were a total of 6 little flying pythons following Ning Yu. When they reached the core hall, there were only 2 mini flying pythons left. Now that the six-winged sky soaring python wanted to kill Ning Yu, how could Ning Yu just stand there and let it kill him? "Six-winged sky soaring python, if you don't want them to die, you'd better stop." Ning Yu held the red demon sword and placed it on the little flying python's neck as he growled. Whoosh! The six-winged sky soaring python stopped in midair with a whoosh, refusing to advance for a long time. "Get lost." Ning Yu sheathed the red demon sword and kicked out twice, sending the little flying mosquito flying far away. Shio! The little flying python flew away, but the six-winged flying python wouldn't just sit and wait for death. He immediately gave up on Ning Yu and chased after the little flying python. "Diamond Ape, if I can help you get rid of the scattered beast energy in your body within 3 minutes, will you help me deal with Patriarch Blood River?" Turning his head to look at the Beast King and the Sword of Evil, who could lose at any time, Ning Yu knew that he was running out of time. If he couldn't gain the diamond ape's trust and make it believe in him, everything would turn for the worse. "How can you make me believe in you?" The diamond ape's face was gloomy. Recently, whenever he wanted to cultivate, his internal organs would be in excruciating pain, tormenting him to the point where he hovered between life and death. Furthermore, Patriarch Blood River had given him a time limit of 3 days to find 10 5th-grade human supremacy realm humans. With the current condition of his body, it was obvious that he couldn't fulfill Patriarch Blood River's request. "It's very simple. I can make a heavenly oath. As long as you relax your mind, I will definitely get rid of the scattered beast energy in your body within 3 minutes." Seeing that there was hope, Ning Yu hurriedly said, "All right, make a heavenly oath first." After pondering for 3 seconds, the Beast King said in a low voice, "I make a heavenly oath." Without delay, Ning Yu immediately forced out a drop of blood and made a heavenly oath. Rumble. Just as Ning Yu made the heavenly oath, before he could help the diamond ape, a rumbling sound came from the other side. Without even looking, Ningyu could guess that it was the Beast King and the Sword of Evil who couldn't hold on any longer. Ningyu, don't even think about playing any tricks. If I want to kill you, it's easier than killing an ant. If it wasn't for the scattered beast energy, how could the Diamond Ape let Ningyu do as he pleased? Even if there was only a 1 in 1,000 chance, the Diamond Ape was willing to try. What if the scattered beast energy in his body was expelled? He had to look on the bright side. Remember, you must open up your mind. Ningyu unreservedly released his soul force and combined it with his perception. He entered the Diamond Ape's body. Hiss! As soon as his perception entered the Diamond Ape's body, Ningyu couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The Diamond Ape situation was more miserable than he had expected. 3 minutes should be very difficult. Fight! No matter how difficult it was, Ningyu had to do it. If he didn't, he would definitely be killed by the Blood River ancestor. If he did, he still had a chance to expel the scattered beast energy from the Diamond Ape's body and let it help him deal with the Blood River ancestor. The Diamond Ape's cultivation was at the early stage of the 7th grade Supreme Being. The Sword of Evil and the Beast King might not be a match for the Blood River ancestor, but with the Diamond Ape, they had an 80% chance of winning. Gritting his teeth, Ningyu forced out a few drops of blood and sent them into the Diamond Ape's body. TSK, TSK. The scattered beast energy was very potent and had already penetrated deep into the Diamond Ape's internal organs. Ningyu didn't dare to relax at all. The slightest bit of carelessness would cause the backlash to intensify. At that time, even he would be implicated. What an old fox. As Ningyu helped the Diamond Ape expel the scattered beast energy, he secretly observed the Diamond Ape's movements. The Diamond Ape was indeed very smart. He was afraid of being ambushed by Ningyu, so he focused all his perception on Ningyu. Drip! Time flew. In the blink of an eye, a minute had passed. The effect was very obvious in the first minute. Ningyu had already expelled a quarter of the scattered beast energy from the Diamond Ape's body. At this rate, it would probably take another 3 minutes for the Diamond Ape to regain its freedom. No, it's too late. Ningyu only had 2 minutes left. In other words, he had to help the Diamond Ape expel all the scattered beast energy from its body within 2 minutes. Otherwise, everything would be for naught. Diamond Tiger, Diamond Panther, Diamond Goat, the 3 of you go help the Beast King. As if he had guessed what Ningyu was thinking, the Diamond Ape made the best decision in his life. He let out a low roar and transmitted a message to Diamond Tiger and the rest. No matter what, you have to delay the Blood River ancestor. Whoosh! Diamond Tiger and the rest were originally under the Diamond Ape's control. Now that the Diamond Ape had given them the order, they did not hesitate and immediately joined the battle. Vajra Tiger, Vajra Panther, and Vajra Goat were all 6th grade mortal sovereigns. With their participation, the Beast King and the Sword of Evil felt the pressure lessen. Diamond Ape, what the hell are you doing? Chapter 1036. I have a favor to ask. The Diamond Ape glanced at Patriarch Blood River and did not say anything. At this time, the beast essence in the Diamond Ape's body was rapidly decreasing. How could it have the time to talk nonsense with Blood River Patriarch? In another 3 minutes, the Diamond Ape would say goodbye to the damned beast essence powder. He couldn't be bothered with Blood River ancestor. Beast essence powder. How smart was Patriarch Blood River? When he saw the movements of Ningyu and the Diamond Ape, he instantly understood. Beast essence dispersal. Ningyu was definitely helping the Diamond Ape expel the beast essence from its body. It's not that easy to expel the beast essence powder. How could Patriarch Blood River allow Ningyu to do as he pleased? He shouted in a low voice, and with a thought, he controlled the Vajra Ape's beast essence to erupt. Diamond Ape, I told you a long time ago that if you try to dispel the beast essence powder, I will let you know. Poochie. However, before Patriarch Blood River could finish speaking, he spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. Patriarch Blood River, you dare to be distracted while fighting us? You're simply courting death. Taking advantage of Patriarch Blood River's carelessness, Beast King punched Patriarch Blood River's chest. The Beast King's punch was so heavy that it sent Patriarch Blood River flying. Blood spewed out as his aura plummeted. Ha ha! Seeing that his aura was about to plummet to rock bottom, Patriarch Blood River did not get angry. Instead, he laughed maniacally. Beast King, it's not that I look down on you, but even if there were 10 of you, you wouldn't be able to defeat me. After laughing maniacally, Patriarch Blood River took out a pill from his bosom and threw it into his mouth to chew. Gotcha! After swallowing the pill, Patriarch Blood River's aura returned to peak middle stage rank 7. Divine Essence Pill. The Beast King's eyes were very sharp. The moment the Beast King took out the elixir, he could tell the name of the elixir. Divine Essence Pill. A late-stage grade 9 medicinal pill had a miraculous effect on the recovery of Essence Chi. As long as one's cultivation was lower than a 9th grade human sovereign, a Divine Essence Pill could instantly replenish all the Yuan Chi consumed. You didn't expect it, did you? When you threw me into the bottomless abyss, I found a jade bottle at the bottom of the abyss. Blood River Patriarch took out the jade bottle and shook it, saying, there are a total of 6 Divine Essence Pills in the jade bottle. In the process of flying up from the bottomless abyss, I consumed a Divine Essence Pill. Now, fighting with you, I consumed another Divine Essence Pill. A Divine Essence Pill is equivalent to having an extra life. What do you have to fight with me? Patriarch Blood River said proudly, not taking the Beast King seriously at all. I've had enough fun. You guys can die now. Patriarch Blood River punched out 3 times in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Each of the 3 punches was very powerful. King Kong Goat, King Kong Tiger, King Kong Leopard. These 3 great Vajras couldn't even withstand a single move from Patriarch Blood River before they were completely annihilated. Sword of Evil, go all out. The Beast King looked extremely gloomy. Other people could replenish their Essence Chi with Divine Essence Pills. When his Essence Chi was depleted, he could only replenish it with Royal Great Essence Crystals. The difference between the two was obvious. Go all out? What a joke. Didn't you guys go all out just now? Hee. Patriarch Blood River smiled faintly, and his figure immediately turned illusory. In the next moment, Patriarch Blood River appeared behind the Sword of Evil and the Beast King and punched out twice in a row. Without a doubt, one punch landed on the Beast King's back and the other on the Sword of Evil's back. The huge force from their backs sent the Beast King and the Sword of Evil flying out and falling at Ning Yu's feet. Whoosh! As if he didn't see the Beast King and the Sword of Evil, Ning Yu suddenly opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. A blessing in disguise, Diamond Ape. You've gained a blessing in disguise this time. Ning Yu stared at the Diamond Ape with a happy expression. Due to the influence of the Beast Essence dissipation, the Diamond Ape's cultivation had stagnated at the early stage 7th grade Human Supreme for many years. This time, Ning Yu helped him expel the Beast Essence dissipation out of his body, allowing him to break through the limit of early stage 7th grade Human Supreme and advance to mid-stage 7th grade Human Supreme. Diamond Ape, how confident are you in defeating Patriarch Blood River? Ning Yu turned to look at the Diamond Ape and asked, less than 30%. The Diamond Ape said in a low voice. At this point, the Diamond Ape paused for a moment and continued, as long as the Beast King and the Sword of Evil help me and snatch the Divine Essence Pills for Patriarch Blood River, I have an 80% chance of killing him. Although the crisis of the Beast Essence dissipation had been resolved, the pressure on the Diamond Ape's body had been greatly reduced. However, the Diamond Ape did not completely relax. Patriarch Blood River was very capable. As long as Blood River Patriarch was not killed, the Diamond Ape would not be at ease. Right now, there was only one thought in the Diamond Ape's mind, and that was to kill Patriarch Blood River at all costs. Diamond Ape, you traitor, I'll let you know the consequences of betraying me. Patriarch Blood River's face was gloomy, but he did not attack immediately. I betrayed you? The Diamond Ape pointed at his nose and said coldly, if you did not use the Beast Essence dissipation to restrain me, how could I be at your mercy for decades? Diamond Ape, do you think you're a match for me? Blood River Patriarch gave up because he could not convince the Diamond Ape. He changed the topic and said, Although you've also advanced to the mid-stage 7th grade human supreme, compared to me, we're a world apart. If I wanted to kill you, it would be easier than squashing an ant. I know what you're worried about, the diamond ape said emotionlessly. You don't have absolute confidence in defeating the Beast King, the Sword of Evil, and me, so you want to defeat us one by one. Blood Moon Annihilation. No one could figure out Patriarch Blood River's actions or guess what he was doing. A moment ago, he was still talking to the diamond ape, and the next moment, he waved his palm and a huge palm print flew out. Ningyu, you retreat first, no matter what. Ningyu had helped him expel the beast essence dissipation. So how could the diamond ape let Ningyu fight Patriarch Blood River? The diamond ape pushed Ningyu away and engaged in a fierce battle with Blood River ancestor. Quickly recover. The Beast King and the Sword of Evil were not fools. They knew that this was a rare opportunity, and if they missed it, they might not get it again in their lifetime. Although the diamond ape's strength was the same as Patriarch Blood River, it was not realistic for him to kill Patriarch Blood River. There was only one way to kill Patriarch Blood River, and that was for the Beast King and the Sword of Evil to recover to the 7th grade human supreme realm and fight Patriarch Blood River to the death. Only then would there be a chance of survival. Mother Energy Form, Little Energy Form, I have something to ask of you. Ningyu heard everything that the diamond ape said just now. Snatch the Divine Essence Elixir. As a 9th grade peak alchemist in his previous life, Ningyu had personally refined a few cauldrons of Divine Essence Elixir, so he knew how terrifying it was. Once he snatched the Divine Essence Elixir, the Sword of Evil and the Beast King would instantly recover to the 7th grade intermediate realm. Even. Chapter 1037. Buzz. The main energy body and the smaller energy bodies swayed in the air, their meaning clear. Think of a way to snatch the Divine Essence pills from Blood River Patriarch. Ningyu said fiercely, as long as you snatch the Divine Essence pills, I'll let you devour Blood River Patriarch after he's dead. Buzz. The main energy body and the smaller energy bodies swayed in the air, not replying to Ningyu immediately. After all, Blood River Patriarch was a mid-stage 7th grade human supreme. He was very powerful. Going against him now was like throwing an egg against a rock. It was extremely dangerous. Ningyu, I have a way to snatch the Divine Essence pills from Blood River Patriarch. The Dark Emperor said hastily. He couldn't help with what happened earlier, but he had to help with the Divine Essence pills now. Get lost. Blood River Patriarch is a mid-stage 7th grade human supreme. What can you, a 1st grade human supreme, do? Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor angrily, signaling him not to make trouble. I really do have a way, but the prerequisite is that you and the energy bodies cooperate with me. The Dark Emperor knew that Ningyu did not believe him, so he continued, the 2 energy bodies will create energy clones to confuse the Blood River Patriarch. As for you, lend me the Phantom Armor. When the time comes, I will fight the Blood River Patriarch's attack head-on and snatch the Divine Essence pill for you. Nonsense. Ningyu rejected directly. Don't meddle in this matter. I know what I'm doing. Return to the storage ring immediately. Don't take a step out of the storage ring without my permission. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The Dark Emperor wanted to snatch the Divine Essence pills? That was a joke among jokes. The Divine Essence pill was a precious elixir that Blood River Patriarch would definitely view as a treasure. He wouldn't take it out until the very last moment. Under this condition, he could only have a chance to snatch the Divine Essence pills when he least expected it. All right. Helpless. The Dark Emperor could only respond before transforming into a streak of cold light and entering the spatial ring. Ningyu, actually, the Dark Emperor's method should be the best one at this stage. After the Dark Emperor disappeared, the Red Devil's voice sounded in Ningyu's mind. Sigh, how can I not know this is the best way? Ningyu sighed. The Dark Emperor has just reached the 1st grade mortal sovereign realm not long ago. I'm worried about leaving such a dangerous task to him. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to help me or not? Ningyu turned around and looked at the 2 energy bodies in the air. Whoosh, whoosh. The The mother energy form and the small energy form looked at each other before flying out. The target of both energy bodies was Patriarch Blood River, Chi-Chi. However, the parent energy body and the smaller energy bodies were not that stupid. They kept creating energy clones to deal with Patriarch Blood River. What? Patriarch Blood River and the Diamond Ape were having a good battle, and he was even suppressing the Diamond Ape. Who would have thought that a moment of carelessness would cause an overwhelming amount of energy clones to attack him? These energy clones were not particularly strong. The stronger ones were at the first grade mortal sovereign realm, while the weaker ones were at the half-step supremacy realm. Although they were not strong, there were a lot of them. With the addition of so many energy clones, the pressure on the Diamond Ape was greatly reduced. Patriarch Blood River was indeed Patriarch Blood River. He waved his hands continuously, and in an instant countless fist lights flew out. Every fist light would cause an energy clone to be destroyed. Not good. Ningyu had already expected this situation. At the start, he did not have much of a change in his emotions, but was thinking about when to make a move. However, Ningyu's imperceptible glance caused his expression to change drastically. The mother energy form and the smaller energy form did not have enough energy. It's over, it's over. Eight-legged centipede, earth shaker, how many royal grade origin crystals do you have? Ningyu said with his teeth clenched. Without energy replenishment, the mother energy form and the smaller energy form would definitely not be able to hold on. By then, everyone would be done for. Here, Earthshaker threw a storage bag over, and Ningyu caught it firmly. Not origin crystals. All of them are high-grade fruits. Ningyu did not care about the consequences. He threw the fruits together with the storage bag to the mother energy form and the smaller energy form. Crack! Crack! Almost in an instant, the storage bag was completely devoured by the two energy bodies. Not even a scrap was left. Buzz! With energy, the mother energy form and the smaller energy form continuously split the energy clones. Diamond Ape, Beast King, Sword of Evil, the three of you attack Patriarch Blood River from the front and attract his attention. Ningyu clenched his teeth, and his body gradually merged into the void. Go! The Beast King and the rest were very intelligent, so they naturally knew what Ningyu was planning. Moreover, they had no other choice but to attack Patriarch Blood River with all their might to buy time for Ningyu. Energy form. Patriarch Blood River destroyed the energy clones, clenched his fists, and dashed out in an instant. Patriarch Blood River's target was the mother energy form and the energy clones. Your opponents are us. At that moment, the Beast King and the Sword of Evil stood in front of the two energy forms. Among them, the Beast King shouted, Patriarch Blood River, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Oomph. Loser, since you guys want to die, I'll fulfill your wish first. Then, I'll deal with the energy forms. Ancestor Blood River snorted coldly and was the first to charge at the Beast King. Patriarch Blood River was so fast that in the eyes of the Beast King, he was just a shadow. Bang! A punch brought with it a violent primal chi wind, and it slammed into the Beast King's chest. With such a powerful punch, the Beast King was sent retreating and out of sight. Patriarch Blood River, eat my sword. After the Beast King was pushed back, the Sword of Evil slashed out a sword radiance and rushed toward Patriarch Blood River. Small tricks. Patriarch Blood River did not care about the Sword of Evil's sword radiance. He casually fanned out a cold light and instantly dispersed the sword radiance. Ding! Moreover, Patriarch Blood River clenched his right fist and punched the royal low-grade flying sword in the Sword of Evil's hand. With a crisp sound, the Sword of Evil and the flying sword were sent flying. Your hand! The Sword of Evil shouted the moment it was sent flying. That's right, my hand is not an ordinary hand. I've already refined it into a magic weapon. The corners of Patriarch Blood River's mouth curled up, and he said sinisterly, according to the classification of magic weapons, it's at least a mid-grade royal. Your flying sword is only a low-grade royal. How can it be a match for me? Eat my fist. In a flash, the Diamond Ape had already arrived in front of Patriarch Blood River. The Diamond Ape's physique was especially strong, and he wanted to fight Patriarch Blood River head-on. Hee, I just said that my right hand is a magic weapon, and it's a mid-grade royal. You came to die. Chapter 1038. Divine Essence Pill Flying Ape Fist. The Diamond Ape did not seem to hear Blood River Patriarch's words. He channeled all his Yuan Qi into his right wrist and threw a backhand punch that collided with Blood River Patriarch's unavoidable fist. Crack! The two fists collided, and the result was predictable. A crisp sound rang out. The Diamond Ape's body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Bang! Compared to the Beast King and the Sword of Evil, the distance the Diamond Ape retreated was not particularly far. It was only about 4 to 5 feet. However, the Diamond Ape's injuries were much more serious than those of the Sword of Evil and the Beast King. The Diamond Ape's entire right hand was almost crippled. Energy bodies, it's your turn now. After forcing the Diamond Ape and the others back with 3 consecutive moves, Blood River Patriarch roared and charged at the energy bodies. Energy bodies were good stuff. Not only were they powerful, but they could also convert energy. No matter how impure the energy was, it would become very pure after being converted by the energy bodies. Devouring the pure energy converted by the energy bodies would allow one to achieve twice the results with half the effort when cultivating. Swoosh! Before Blood River Patriarch could reach the 2 energy bodies, the Beast King flew over from afar and started fighting with Blood River Patriarch again. Damn it! Blood River Patriarch was so angry that his nose was crooked. I've given you face, and you think you can fly? I didn't kill you just now, but this time I'll definitely turn your bones into dust. Blood River Patriarch, you want to turn my bones into dust? The Beast King seemed to know what Blood River Patriarch was thinking. He smirked and said sinisterly, I'll stand here and see if you can turn my bones into dust. Go to hell. Patriarch Blood River shouted and immediately gathered essence, Qi, on his right fist. With a flip of his hand, he punched out with a shocking fistlight. In order to kill the Beast King in one move, Blood River Patriarch used 80% of his strength in this punch. It was not that Blood River Patriarch did not want to use 100% of his strength, but he wanted to save some energy to prevent the 2 energy bodies from escaping. The energy bodies were too important to him. Whether he could advance to the 8th grade Human Supreme Martial Artist realm in a short period of time depended entirely on his energy form. With the help of the energy body, he would be able to break through to 8th grade Human Supreme in 3 years. Without the energy body, it would take him at least 30 years to reach the 8th grade Human Sovereign realm. Patriarch Blood River, I suddenly remember that I have something to do. Let's fight another day. The Beast King did not wish to clash head-on with Patriarch Blood River. The Beast King had yet to recover to the early stage 7th grade Human Sovereign realm, while Patriarch Blood River was a middle stage 7th grade Human Sovereign realm. The difference in strength between the two was huge. Fighting head-on was no different from courting death. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the Beast King did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to turn around and run. If he couldn't win, he would run. The Beast King was smart. Damn it! Patriarch Blood River wanted to chase after Beast King, but he was afraid that the 2 energy bodies would escape. Therefore, after cursing inwardly, Patriarch Blood River chose to change his direction and fly toward the body of energy. I can't believe it. The moment Patriarch Blood River turned around, he was stunned on the spot, because in front of Patriarch Blood River, there was nothing, not even a speck of dust. Where's the energy body? Patriarch Blood River's mouth was slightly agape, a little stunned. It's here. A voice rang in Patriarch Blood River's ears. Where? Patriarch Blood River was puzzled. Not good. Patriarch Blood River was very smart and reacted instantly. He hurriedly gathered his essence Qi on his wrist and threw a punch. Patriarch Blood River, is that all you've got? Beside Patriarch Blood River, Ningyu revealed a disdainful expression. Ningyu's expression seemed to be saying, you're too outdated. Even a first-grade Human Supreme Realm rookie like me can't defeat you. Are you sure you're talking to me? Patriarch Blood River looked at Ningyu in front of him. then lowered his head to look at Ning Yu's chest. He even stuttered a little. Also, why is your body so hard? You can refine your right hand into a Dharma treasure. I can also refine my body into a Dharma treasure. Ning Yu shrugged and said, your right hand is comparable to a middle-grade royal Dharma treasure. My body is comparable to a high-grade royal Dharma treasure. If you don't believe me, you could try punching me again. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the Beast King, the Sword of Evil, and the Diamond Ape gathered together. Has Ning Yu lost his mind? He actually let Patriarch Blood River punch him again. The Diamond Ape looked at Ning Yu as if he was looking at a fool. No, Ning Yu is wearing a suit of armor. That suit of armor should be able to block a full-powered attack from Patriarch Blood River. The Beast King and the Sword of Evil knew that Ning Yu was wearing the Phantom armor, and they also knew how terrifying it was. What armor? Patriarch Blood River is a middle-grade 7 Supreme. Even a low-grade Royal Dharma armor can't withstand a punch from him. The Diamond Ape was puzzled. It's a low-grade Royal Dharma armor, the Beast King explained. All right, then, the Beast King suddenly slapped his head and said, I know what Ning Yu is trying to do. He must be trying to snatch the Divine Essence pills while Patriarch Blood River is punching him. Take this. As soon as the Beast King's voice fell, Patriarch Blood River, on the other side, clenched his right fist and punched Ning Yu's chest. Bang! After the punch, Ning Yu was still standing in the same place and scathed. This is absolutely impossible. Patriarch Blood River shouted like a madman. Nothing is impossible. Ning Yu said indifferently. I've already said that I've refined my body into an artifact, and it's comparable to a high-grade Royal Dharma artifact. How about this? I'll give you one last chance. At this point, Ning Yu paused for a moment, then continued. When you hit me just now, you didn't use your full strength, and your body's primordial chi is not very sufficient. I'll let you recover to your peak, then hit me with a punch at your peak. Arrogant. Patriarch Blood River snorted, then flipped his wrist and took out the jade bottle he obtained from the bottom of the bottomless abyss. This is my chance. How could Ning Yu miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? As the saying goes, if you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Ning Yu quickly took out the red demon sword and slashed out a sword ray in the air. At the same time, Ning Yu quickly stretched out his left hand and grabbed the jade bottle. Swoosh! As Patriarch Blood River was busy blocking the first sword ray that Ning Yu slashed out, he was careless, and the jade bottle in his hand was snatched away by Ning Yu. With the jade bottle snatched away, Patriarch Blood River went berserk and let out a hysterical cry. There were 4 Divine Essence pills left in the jade bottle, and each of them was equivalent to a life. Now, they were snatched away by Ning Yu? What else could he do? Beast King, Sword of Evil, Diamond Ape, swallow the 3 Divine Essence pills in here immediately. Ning Yu kept 1 Divine Essence pill and threw the remaining 3 to Beast King and the rest. Ka! Chapter 1039. Buzz. Buzz. The Divine Essence pill was extremely potent. As soon as the Beast King swallowed the Divine Essence pill, its body let out a buzzing sound. Boom! Then, a terrifying aura shot into the sky. A peak 7th grade Human Supreme. At this moment, the Beast King had recovered to the peak 7th grade Human Supreme. Boom! Boom! Beside him, the Diamond Ape and the Sword of Evil had also recovered. The Diamond Ape's aura was at the mid-7th grade Human Supreme, while the Sword of Evil had reached the limit of his current level, a peak early 7th grade Human Supreme. The Sword of Evil was different from the Beast King and the others. The Beast King and the Diamond Ape had used up too much of their primordial chi. Once they got the Divine Essence pill, it would be very easy for them to recover to their peak. The Sword of Evil had just succeeded in the possession not long ago, so his body's compatibility was not perfect. 1 Divine Essence pill could help him reach the peak early 7th grade Human Supreme, which was already very good. Blood River Patriarch. After recovering to the peak 7th grade Human Supreme, the Beast King naturally had no fear of the Blood River Patriarch. The Blood River Patriarch was only a mid-7th grade Human Supreme, and he had used up too much of his primordial chi. How could he be a match for him? The Beast King took a few steps forward and said coldly, "The grudge between us has dragged on for decades. It's time to put an end to it." By now, the Blood River Patriarch had already accepted the fact that the Divine Essence pill had been stolen. His top priority now was to find a way to escape. "Beast King, you want to put an end to this?" The Blood River Patriarch was not angry at the Beast King's words. Instead, he became very calm. The Divine Essence pill had been stolen anyway. No matter how hard he tried, he could not get it back. The Blood River Patriarch changed his strategy. Now, he was no longer thinking about killing the Beast King. Instead, he was thinking about how to escape. "There's something important I haven't told you," the Blood River Patriarch said calmly. Patriarch Blood River said calmly, "Guess who I met in the bottomless abyss?" "Who is it?" The Beast King had a bad feeling about this. Why was Patriarch Blood River so calm? Was he faking it, or was he really confident? "Black Tortoise." Patriarch Blood River shrugged and spat out two words. "What?" The words Black Tortoise completely touched the Beast King, causing him to almost jump up. The Black Tortoise and the Beast King had been close friends for many years. In order to let the Beast King control the Beast King Palace, the Black Tortoise did not hesitate to resist the mysterious power from the void. The mysterious power was so powerful that it directly shattered the Black Tortoise's armor and blasted its body into the void. In the following years, the Beast King turned the mountains of magic beasts over, but he couldn't even find the shadow of Black Tortoise. Helpless, the Beast King could only give up. How could the Beast King not be shocked when Patriarch Blood River mentioned the Black Tortoise? The Black Tortoise is not dead, but it is trapped at the bottom of the abyss. The Beast King's reaction made the Blood River ancestor very satisfied. He continued, "According to my observation, if no one goes to save the Black Tortoise within 3 days, it will definitely be finished." Crack! The Beast King clenched his fists, his face gloomy. If things were really as the Blood River ancestor said, then he must go to the abyss. "Beast King, you should know what to do." Seeing the Beast King's expression, Ningyu felt that he had to remind him. The Blood River ancestor was insidious and cunning. If he didn't kill him now, he might use a trick to escape. Ningyu didn't want to be remembered by a 7th grade intermediate human supreme. Don't dawdle. Isn't it easy to know whether what the Blood River ancestor said is true or not? Use a secret technique to extract his memories and then kill him. Sword of Evil. Diamond Ape. Seeing that the Beast King was still standing there, Ningyu said in a deep voice, "Quickly kill the Blood River ancestor. Every second he lives is a threat to us." Swoosh. Swoosh. The Sword of Evil and the Diamond Ape had nothing to worry about. Killing the Blood River ancestor was what they wanted to do. Rushing out quickly, the Sword of Evil teamed up with the Diamond Ape to fight the Blood River ancestor. Rumble. Although the Divine Essence elixir was snatched away, the Blood River ancestor was still very powerful. The Sword of Evil and the Diamond Ape could not defeat him even if they teamed up. In other words, if the Beast King did not make a move, the Blood River ancestor would be invincible. "Beast King, what are you worried about? You should know the Blood River ancestor better than me." Ningyu knew that he had to convince the Beast King. Otherwise, if the Blood River ancestor escaped, everyone would be in trouble. "The Black Tortoise is too important to me. I have to save him," the Beast King said in a deep voice. "My life was saved by the Black Tortoise. If not for it, I would have been killed by the mysterious force." Mysterious force? Ningyu was slightly startled and puzzled. Yes, the mysterious force. The Beast King nodded and explained. It turned out that the entire magical Beast Mountain range was enveloped by a mysterious force. Every 20 years, the mysterious force would descend on the magic treasure cave in the Beast King's palace. Along with the mysterious force were many magic treasures and elixirs. There were even 10th grade elixirs. Last time, the one who descended with the magic treasures was a young man. That young man only took a glance at me, and I felt like I had fallen into an ice cave. The Beast King continued. At that time, that young man said something that is still fresh in my memory. What did he say? Ningyu asked. I will be back soon. The Beast King said. I will be back soon. Ningyu frowned, feeling very confused. That young man was able to make the Beast King feel like he had fallen into an ice cave with just a glance was enough to show that the young man's strength was terrifying. Even if he was not an Earth Supreme, he was at least a high-level human Supreme. No matter what, the most important thing now is to kill Patriarch Blood River. Slowly shaking his head, Ningyu put these thoughts to the back of his mind and said, Patriarch Blood River is a greater threat to us. If we don't kill him, none of us will have an easy time. All right, I am willing to kill Patriarch Blood River. Taking a deep breath, the Beast King's figure gradually became illusory. Swoosh! In the next instant, the Beast King appeared in front of Patriarch Blood River. Bang! He threw a punch, bringing with it a violent Yuan Qi gale, and fiercely hit Patriarch Blood River's heart. The huge force from his heart caused Patriarch Blood River's pupils to shrink. His body was like a kite with a broken string, and he retreated backward. Puff! Unfortunately, the Sword of Evil was waiting for Patriarch Blood River at the back. Holding the Emperor low-grade flying sword in his hand, the Sword of Evil stabbed out. Without any deviation, it pierced through the back of Patriarch Blood River's head and came out between his eyebrows. Thump! In the moment before his death, Patriarch Blood River was filled with regret. He regretted underestimating Ningyu, and the result was that he was too obsessed with energy forms. He regretted not killing the Beast King immediately. But there was no use in regretting everything. There were some things that you would only be left with regret after you had done them. His body fell heavily to the ground. A 7th grade mid-human supreme, Patriarch Blood River. Chapter 1040. Shin Tu Hao Wush. Seeing that Patriarch Blood River had been killed, the Sword of Evil and the others all showed a look of relief. After all, the pressure that Patriarch Blood River had given them was too great. Although there were some twists and turns, they were still very pleased to be able to kill Patriarch Blood River. Ningyu, I hope you can hand Patriarch Blood River over to me. I want to bring him back to the Magic Beast Mountain Range. The Beast King's expression was still very solemn. He quickly came to Ningyu's side and said, Is that possible? He was a beast that knew how to repay kindness. Ningyu first saved him from the hands of Venerable Wind, and then created favorable conditions for him to kill Patriarch Blood River. The Beast King engraved this favor in his heart and would never forget it. You killed Patriarch Blood River. You can do whatever you want with him. It has nothing to do with me. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu said, This trip to the bottomless abyss is full of danger. If someone follows you, you may be safer. I am willing to go with the Beast King. The Diamond Ape's voice rang out. Buzz, buzz. On the other side, the main energy body and the small energy body were also shaking nonstop. You want to go too? Ningyu frowned slightly. Soon after, he let out a soft sigh and said, I'll go. In any case, you guys don't want to return with me. Staying in the magical Beast Mountain Range with the Beast King is also a good choice. See you later. The Beast King handled matters swiftly and decisively, leaving as soon as he said so. He grabbed the body of Patriarch Blood River, tore the void, and disappeared. Ningyu, we will have the opportunity to meet again. The Diamond Ape was very grateful to Ningyu for expelling the beast energy from his body. He said goodbye to Ningyu and then left with the Beast King. Swoosh! The parent energy body and the small energy body didn't want to stay here any longer. The two of them turned into a gust of wind and disappeared from this area. Ningyu, will there be any problems letting two energy bodies follow the Beast King? The Sword of Evil put away the low-grade monarch rank flying sword and said hesitantly, No problem. Beast King's strength is enough to suppress two energy bodies. Ningyu said, It won't be long before the Beast King recovers to his peak state. Two mere 7th grade sovereign energy bodies won't be able to pose a threat to the Beast King. Let's go to Tianxian City first. Now that Patriarch Blood River was dead, there was no need for Ningyu and the others to stay. In a flash, Ningyu was the first to leave. Meanwhile, in a restaurant somewhere in Tianxian City. Hey, have you heard? Just this morning, a mysterious force suddenly broke into the Ning family and put all the senior members of the Ning family under house arrest. That's impossible, right? There are several manifestation realm warriors in the Ning family. Even in the great Xia kingdom, the Ningyu family is second to none. I don't believe that anyone would dare to attack them. Although manifestation realm warriors are powerful, I heard that the mysterious force has an ancestor who is definitely in the supremacy realm. He might even be a high-level human supremacy. Crash. When the surrounding martial artists heard this, they were all shocked. A supremacy realm martial artist could instantly kill a manifestation realm martial artist, let alone a high-level sovereign realm martial artist. If it was really as the last warrior had said, then the Ning family would definitely be in trouble this time. Aunt Yun, could it be that the great elder of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, Shun Tu Hao, has already arrived at Tianxin City? At the corner of the restaurant, two warriors wearing bamboo hats were whispering to each other. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely realize that he knew these two warriors. Yin Mu, Venerable Talisman Marshal. After leaving the Magic Beast Mountain Range, Yin Mu and Venerable Talisman Marshal came to Tianxin City and set up camp there. Shen Tu Hao will definitely come. After all, Bao Chong is his last disciple. If he doesn't come, I will really admire him. Venerable Talisman Marshal took a sip of wine and said indifferently, "Should we go to the Ning family first? Shen Tu Hao is a cunning person. I'm afraid that he will harm the Ning family." Yin Mu revealed a worried expression and said hesitantly, "Don't worry." Venerable Talisman Marshal raised the corner of his mouth and said, "As long as Ningyu doesn't appear, Shun Tu Hao will not know that Bao Chong was killed by Ningyu. Moreover, do you think that Shin Tu Hao really wants to avenge Bao Chong? Doesn't want to avenge Bao Chong? Then why did he come?" Yin Mu said doubtfully. "Ha! Shun Tu Hao is the great elder of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, and also one of the most experienced elders in the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. The reason he came here this time is mainly to use Bao Chang's death to force Jiuding the Venerable to abdicate, and then become the pavilion master himself." Venerable Talisman Marshal said with a faint smile. "But Jiuding the Venerable has long been killed." Yin Mu said, "I also know that Jiuding the Venerable has been killed. In short, unless Shun Tu Hao takes out that thing, we don't need to do anything." Venerable Talisman Marshal waved his hand and said, "All right." Hearing Venerable Talisman Marshal's words, Yin Mu could only nod his head and did not say anything else. Dong, dong, dong. Ning family's conference hall. An old man wearing a black robe sat at the head of the hall. His eyes were tightly shut, and his right hand was constantly knocking on the chair below him. Below the old man, there were two rows of martial artists standing side by side. These martial artists were not very old, but their cultivations were all first-grade human supremes. After a while, the old man slowly opened his eyes and said, "You are all the elites of the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, the elites of the elites. If any of you were to be placed in the outside world, you would be able to become a saint's son or saintess of the Nine Branches. For so many years, you have all been cultivating in a place where there is no daylight and have never had the chance to display your strength. Now, there is an opportunity in front of you." The old man's gaze swept across the 9 first-grade human supremes in the hall, and he said in a deep voice, "It won't be long before Jiuding the Venerable comes out from the magical Beast Mountain Range. Go to the gates of profound Sky City now, and if you encounter Jiuding the Venerable, kill him without mercy. We swear our loyalty to the Great Elder." The 9 first-grade human supremes said in unison. Of course, although the 9 of you are geniuses among geniuses, the elites of the elites, Jiuding the Venerable is a 6th-grade human supremes, and he also has a few 5th-grade human supremes by his side. I will not let you die in vain. The old man was the great elder of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, Shun Tu Hao. He waved his hand at the void, and the void trembled. Crack! Then, a middle-aged man appeared. "Crazy bloodthirsty demon, you are responsible for hiding in the void and launching a sneak attack on Jiuding the Venerable." Shin Tu Hao stretched out a finger and said, "One move. Remember, you can only use one move. After that move, Regardless of whether or not you can seriously injure Jioding the Venerable, you must leave. Leave the rest of them. Understood. Crazy bloodthirsty demon glanced at Shun Tu Hao and then merged into the void again. This mission, you can only succeed, no failure. Chapter 1041. Guards blocking the way. Russell. At the outermost area of the magical Beast Mountain range, 3 figures sped past. They were Ningyu, the Dark Emperor, and the rest. After a few hours of traveling, Ningyu and the rest finally left the magical Beast Mountain range. We're not far from Tianxin City. Let's recuperate here and adjust our mental state to its peak before we set off. Ningyu found an empty space and sat down cross-legged to recuperate. For some reason, as they got closer to Tianxin City, the uneasiness in Ningyu's heart grew heavier. Shaking his head, Ningyu tossed the uneasiness to the back of his mind. Before long, they would be able to return to Tianxin City. The most important thing at this time was to adjust to their peak condition. If they were to encounter any danger in Tianxin City, they would be able to deal with it. After all, the Sword of Evil was extremely powerful. He would not feel much pressure against an early-stage 7th-grade supreme martial artist. Drip, drip. Time continued to pass. In the blink of an eye, 10 minutes had passed. Let's go. Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes, bellowed, and was the first to rush out. Behind Ningyu, the Dark Emperor and the Sword of Evil followed closely. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 figures moved at an extremely fast speed. About an hour later, Ningyu stopped again. What's going on? The Dark Emperor was a little displeased that Ningyu had stopped consecutively and complained. We're in trouble, Ningyu said with a solemn expression. The entrance of Tianxin City is in the distance. I can sense that there are no less than 10 martial artists hidden in the void. What an alarmist, there's no. My God. The Dark Emperor pursed his lips and shifted his perception to the city gate of Tianxin City. Not long after his perception left, the Dark Emperor hurriedly retracted it and cursed. There are indeed people hiding there, the Dark Emperor said fiercely. Ningyu, in my opinion, the 3 of us should kill our way out and make them piss their pants. Don't be rash. At this moment, the Sword of Evil spoke. The Sword of Evil's words caused the Dark Emperor to completely give up on the idea of immediately charging over. There's an aura that's extremely well hidden. Even I can't figure out where he is. Even you can't sense his location? The Dark Emperor's eyes widened as he said, Doesn't that mean that there's an expert in the void that's even more powerful than you? The Dark Emperor was a little scared. It was fortunate that he had not charged out impulsively. Otherwise, if he had encountered an expert stronger than the Sword of Evil, he would have been dead meat. If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. Ningyu rolled his eyes at the Dark Emperor and said, What the Sword of Evil means is that the expert in the void is better at hiding his aura, but he might not be as strong as him. You're making this Emperor nervous by only saying half of what I wanted to say, the Dark Emperor said snappily. Sword of Evil, you and the Dark Emperor hide yourselves at the same time. I'll head over alone later. Ningyu pondered for a moment before saying, Those people in the void might not necessarily be looking for us. As long as they don't provoke us, we'll try our best not to get into conflict with them. Up to you. The Dark Emperor shrugged before turning into an afterimage and entering the storage ring. Buzz. As for the Sword of Evil, his figure flashed and he disappeared into the void. After sorting out his thoughts, Ningyu moved his feet and headed towards Tianxin City. Ningyu tried his best to look normal while concealing his aura at the same time. The aura of a Grade 1 human sovereign was simply too eye-catching. Ningyu guessed that if he dared to not conceal his aura, the expert in the void would definitely stop him. Ningyu was not too far away from Tianxin City. About 3 to 4 minutes later, Ningyu arrived at the entrance of Tianxin City. Ningyu appeared very calm. When he passed through the gates of Tianxin City, he did not feel any discomfort and was no different from a normal person. Luckily, I'm not their target. After entering Tianxin City, Ningyu shook his head and strode towards the Ning family. Ningyu was clear about the main and secondary matters. Right now, He had to return to the Ning family to check if Ning Yu was in danger before treating his father, Ning Hai. Everything seemed to be going according to Ning Yu's plan. Routine check. However, Ning Yu had just taken a few steps when a guard came up from behind him. Check what? Ning Yu frowned slightly because he did not recognize this guard. Furthermore, this guard's cultivation was at the early stage manifestation realm. Ordinary families would definitely not be able to afford to have an early stage manifestation realm martial artist as a guard. Why do you have so much to say? There's a crystal ball here. Inject your essence chi into it, and I'll see what happens. The early stage manifestation realm guard said impatiently. Tell me, why do you have to check me out when there are so many people? Ning Yu's expression was a little ugly. There were many martial artists going in and out of Tianxian City, but this guard had to check him out instead of anyone else. This made him furious. Noisy. I'm not checking others because the crystal ball did not glow when others passed by me. When you passed by, the crystal ball emitted a golden light. The early stage manifestation realm martial artist said coldly, as though he was going to fight if Su Ping did not inject his essence chi into the crystal ball. Swish, swish, swish. Just as Ning Yu was pondering, he suddenly felt several auras locking onto him. Those people hiding in the void. Ning Yu quickly determined that these auras came from those people in the void. 9 first-grade supreme martial artists. Ning Yu's perception was very strong. The moment these people's auras emerged, he was able to determine their cultivation. Although all 9 of them were first-grade supreme martial artists, Ning Yu did not dare to be careless at all. Each of these first-grade supreme martial artists was extremely powerful. Although they were not his match in a one-on-one fight, he would definitely find it very difficult to deal with the 9 of them together. Brat, didn't you hear what I said? Seeing that Ning Yu had no intention of injecting essence chi into the crystal ball, the early stage manifestation realm guard revealed a ferocious expression. He then lifted his right leg and kicked at Ning Yu fiercely. Look, isn't that Ning Yu? Which one? Who else could it be? Of course, it's the martial artist who had a conflict with the guard. Oh my God, it's really Ning Yu. It seems that Ning Yu is in trouble. That guard is an early stage manifestation realm. The last martial artist stopped in the middle of his sentence. This was because he thought of Ning Yu's previous achievements and immediately stopped talking. If an early stage manifestation realm martial artist could defeat Ning Yu, then Ning Yu must have been living like a dog during this period of time. Ning Yu did not disappoint them. Just as the early stage manifestation realm guard's right leg was about to land on Ning Yu slightly dodged to the side and ruthlessly chopped at the early stage manifestation realm guard's ankle with his right hand. Crack! A crisp sound rang out. The manifestation initial stage guard was like a kite with a broken string as he was sent flying. Chapter 1042. Number 9-inch Humph. I'm giving you face, but you think you can go to the sky? If you're so powerful, why don't you stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun? Ning Yu knocked back the early stage Fate Realm Guard and snorted. This is Tianxian City. It's not your place to behave atrociously. You. The early stage Fate Realm Guard pointed his finger at Ning Yu as he spoke. What about me? Have you lost your mind? Ning Yu stopped and slowly walked towards the early stage Fate Realm Guard. Originally, Ning Yu didn't want to tangle with this guard. After all, he still had important things to do. But on second thought, Ning Yu changed his mind. Because this guard was making things difficult for him, there must be someone behind him. It was better to interrogate him before the people in the void appeared. What are you doing? Don't come over. The early stage Fate Realm Guard looked terrible and even stuttered. I'm here to ask you, Ning Yu said. Ning Yu said the first half of the sentence with his voice, while Ning Yu said the second half with his soul. There were 9 first-grade human supremes in the void, and they were all geniuses among geniuses. Ning Yu didn't want his words to be heard by them. What should we do? Should we make a move? 9 first-grade human supremes were hidden in the void. One of the first-grade human supreme martial artists said, Number 1, you decide. These 9 first-grade human supremes were named number 1 to number 9 by Shun Tu Hao according to their strength. The one who spoke just now was number 7. Number 9, go and test his strength. After a moment of silence, number 1 said, Also, find a way to inject his primordial chi into the crystal ball. I want to see if he has anything to do with Bao Chong. No matter what, Bao Chong was Shun Tu Hao's last disciple. If Bao Chang's death really had something to do with Ningyu, number one wouldn't mind taking Ningyu back. So that's how it is. They're all people from the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion. After asking around, Ningyu learned that these guards were powerhouses from the Nine Furnace Divine Pavilion. The guards were from the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion, which meant that the 9 first-grade human supremes hidden in the void were also from the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion. Not good. Suddenly, Ningyu's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated. Eat my fist. Just as Ningyu took 3 steps back, a figure appeared out of thin air. Number 9. This martial artist was number 9. Bang! Ningyu clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out, colliding perfectly with number 9's fist. The 2 fists collided. Ningyu and number 9 each took a few steps back. Judging from the distance they retreated, Ningyu had the upper hand. However, only Ningyu himself knew the inside story. He did not use his full strength. If he had to use his full strength to deal with a first-grade human sovereign, then wouldn't he be finished if the other 8 attacked him together? Kid, you're very strong. Tell me your name. After one move, he said coldly, Ningyu. Ningyu said lightly, you're from the Ning family. Number 9's eyebrows twitched. I didn't expect the Ning family to have such a powerful genius. You're indeed not simple. The Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion is indeed like a ghost that lingers on. Ningyu said, inject your Yuan Qi into the crystal ball, and I can spare your life. Number 9's mind flickered. He controlled the crystal ball in the early manifestation realm guard's hand to fly towards Ningyu. Gotcha! Ningyu would not inject his Yuan Qi into the crystal ball. He flicked his finger, and a cold light flew out, shattering the crystal ball. You're courting death. Seeing the crystal ball shatter, number 9 flew into a rage. I gave you face, but you don't want it. Since that's the case, I can only send you to hell. The next moment, number 9 clenched his fists and charged at Ningyu at an astonishing speed. Feeling the Yuan Qi fluctuations from number 9's fists, Ningyu was slightly moved. The Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion really does have some skills. They do have some methods to nurture geniuses. Ningyu slowly closed his eyes as he looked at number 9, who was flying toward him. Voila! The moment Ningyu closed his eyes, it caused an uproar. The martial artist you're fighting is a grade 1 supreme being. No matter how confident you are, no matter how conceited you are, you can't close your eyes. Could it be that Ningyu has really lost his mind? How is that possible? In my opinion, Ningyu should be using some kind of trump card. Number 9 was so angry that his nose was crooked. Strictly speaking, this was his first battle since leaving the Nine Cauldron Divine Pavilion. He could only succeed in this battle. Failure was not an option. Chi-Chi. Number 9 forced out several drops of blood essence and wrote a large word in the air. Die. The word that number 9 wrote was the word die. He's using this move? At this moment, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu poured the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness into his palm and pushed it out. A large word that was not inferior to the word die appeared in the air. What does this word say? How come I've never seen it before? Nonsense. I've never seen it before either. It's the left half of the word Qian. So that's how it is. Could it be that Ningyu practiced some kind of powerful technique after leaving Profound Sky City for a period of time? Seeing the 2 large words floating in the air, everyone was shocked. Rumble. The 2 large words collided in front of everyone's shocked expressions. Not good. As soon as the 2 words collided, number 9 realized that something was wrong. Because the die word that he used didn't even last for a second before it was defeated. One had to know that this was his strongest move. He used his strongest move so that he could kill with a single strike. Who would have thought that he would fail miserably? This made him very depressed. Number 9 didn't have time to be depressed for too long. He immediately ran away. Number 9 wouldn't do something like that. Besides, he still had 8 brothers. I'm not your match. If the 9 of us join forces, we can definitely kill you. Pucci. However, Number 9 was too focused on escaping that he neglected the black figure that appeared beside him. Dark Emperor. During the battle, Ningyu had secretly released the Dark Emperor. The Dark Emperor had also advanced to the first-grade mortal supremacy realm. His ability to conceal his aura was superb. Furthermore, Number 9 and the 9 Calder Divine Pavilion's experts were all focused on Ningyu and naturally neglected the Dark Emperor. But it was this 1 second of neglect that caused Number 9 to pay a painful price. In your next life, remember not to offend people that you shouldn't. Whoosh! The Dark Emperor slowly withdrew his claw from Number 9's chest and threw him to the side. Gasp! When the surrounding people saw Number 9's miserable state, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Cruel. This was simply too cruel. At this moment, Number 9's entire body was shriveled like a piece of skin. He had been devoured. The Dark Emperor was a heaven-devouring dog. He was known to devour the heavens, earth, and air. Even a peak expert like Venerable Wind could be devoured in an hour, let alone a first-grade mortal supremacy like Number 9. Ningyu, you should have let me out to deal with these small fries. The Dark Emperor turned around and said to Ningyu. Chapter 1043. Consecutive Devouring Boom. Hearing the Dark Emperor's arrogant words, the surrounding onlookers were in disbelief. That was a grade 1 human supreme martial artist. Yet, it was devoured by the Black Dog so quickly. I remember that the Black Dog's name is the Dark Emperor. It seems to be on good terms with Ningyu. What do you mean by on good terms with Ningyu? To tell you the truth, it's pretty good. That's right. The Black Dog was fearless and saved Ningyu at the crucial moment. The crowd discussed among themselves. It was obvious that the Dark Emperor was the focus of everyone's attention. After all, the Dark Emperor had killed devouring Number 9 and devoured him in a short period of time. The battle prowess displayed by the Dark Emperor was no weaker than a grade 2 human supreme martial artist. What are you doing? Don't come over. At that moment, the early stage Blessed Realm Guard revealed a terrified expression, and his entire body trembled. Don't you know what I'm trying to do? The Dark Emperor shrugged, and then his figure flashed and vanished in the blink of an eye. No. Seeing the Dark Emperor disappear, the initial manifestation Realm Guard's pupils contracted, and he wanted to tear open the void to escape. However, before he could tear open the void, the Dark Emperor appeared in front of him. Just like devouring Number 9, the Dark Emperor only used a few seconds to devour the initial manifestation Realm Guard. Not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. After throwing the initial manifestation Realm Guard away, the Dark Emperor curled his lips and said, Ningyu, I'll leave these weak shrimps to you in the future. Not only will I not earn anything from killing them, it'll also be a waste of my energy. The surrounding onlookers were speechless. Arrogant. That was too arrogant. Not only did he devour others, he even said that they were too weak. This was intolerable. Whoosh! In the next moment, the void in midair suddenly split open. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After the space was torn apart, several figures appeared in the area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just right. 8 grade 1 human supreme martial artists. Staring at the figures that suddenly appeared, Ningyu took a deep breath and muttered. Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. Even though Number 9 had been killed, any one of the 8 first-grade Sovereign Realm experts was stronger than Number 9. In fact, the first-grade human supreme martial artist at the very front was much stronger than Number 9. It could be said that even 10 Number 9s wouldn't be a match for that first-grade human sovereign. Kid, you're very arrogant. The grade 1 supreme martial artist at the front did not attack immediately. Instead, he took out a crystal ball and said, Release your primordial chi and inject it into this crystal ball, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Wouldn't I lose face if I injected my essence into the crystal ball, just because you asked me to? Ningyu had an indifferent look on his face as he said indifferently, Tell me, what do you want? Very good. You have quite a personality. Number 1 accepted the crystal ball, nodded, and said, Number 8, you deal with this stubborn kid. Number 7, you go kill that Black Dog. Yes. Number 7 and number 8 responded and rushed out in unison. Number 7 charged at the Dark Emperor, while number 8 charged at Ningyu. Ningyu, leave these two pieces of trash to me. Seeing that Ningyu was about to attack, the Dark Emperor hurriedly said. A first-grade human supreme martial artist was not enough for the Dark Emperor to devour. The two of them together would be quite interesting. A dog that has lost its mind. Number 1 did not have a high opinion of the Dark Emperor. Number 9's strength was the weakest among them. Coupled with number 9's carelessness, the black dog's sneak attack succeeded. Number 7 and number 8 could easily kill a fourth-grade human supreme martial artist if they worked together. Number 1 did not believe that the Dark Emperor could defeat number 7 and number 8. Should we make a move? Number 2, who was beside number 1, frowned. For some reason, number 2 was still a little worried. Perhaps that black dog's strength was truly formidable. We need to conserve our strength. Otherwise, when Joding the Venerable comes over, how are we going to kill him? Number 1 waved his hand, indicating for number 2 not to worry. Bang! Bang! However, as soon as number 1 finished speaking, 2 crisp voices rang in his ears. What? Looking towards the source of the sound, number 1 was stunned when he saw the 2 corpses lying on the ground. The 2 corpses on the ground were none other than number 7 and number 8. Boring, you guys come meet together. After killing 3 first-grade human supreme martial artists in a row, the Dark Emperor felt a little bored. Although number 7 and number 8 were several times stronger than number 9 when they worked together, it was not a problem for him. He could easily kill them. Crack, crack. Hearing the Dark Emperor's mocking words, number 1 clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. Number 7, 8, and number 9 had died in battle. This made him very angry. 3 exceptional geniuses were killed. How is he going to explain this to Shun Tu Hao? Let's go. Let's attack together and skin this black dog alive. Number 1's eyes turned extremely cold as he took the lead and charged towards the Dark Emperor. Good move. The Dark Emperor did not care if number 1 attacked or not. He was very excited when number 1 attacked. Devouring number 1 was much better than devouring number 7, 8, and 9. Bang! Reality proved that the Dark Emperor was a little too optimistic and underestimated number 1's battle strength. With just one move, number 1 sent the Dark Emperor flying several feet back, causing his face to turn pale. Hiss! Number 1's move caused everyone around to suck in a breath of cold air. Too powerful. The scene of the Dark Emperor killing 3 first-grade human supreme martial artists and devouring them was still fresh in everyone's mind. Now that number 1 defeated the Dark Emperor in one move, didn't that mean that number 1's strength had reached a heaven-defying level? Puffed. Spurting out a mouthful of blood, the Dark Emperor's face turned ugly. Failed miserably. He originally thought that number 1's strength was only SOSO, but it seemed like he was wrong. On the surface, number 1 was a first-grade human supreme martial artist, but the density of his Yuan Qi was comparable to an ordinary peak 5th-grade human supreme martial artist. In other words, it was highly possible that number 1 had cultivated some kind of special skill and suppressed his cultivation to first-grade human supreme martial artist, waiting for a metamorphosis. I'll give you one last chance. Inject your Yuan Qi into the crystal ball, or I'll make you. Number 1 glared at Ningyu and said, "Why do you have so much nonsense to say?" Ningyu interrupted number 1 and said calmly, "If you want to fight, let's fight. If talking nonsense is useful, there would be no need for martial arts in this world." Fine, you forced me to do this. Number 1's eyes were extremely cold as he instantly charged towards Ningyu at a shocking speed. Number 1's speed was so fast that in the eyes of the crowd, he only left an afterimage. Wherever the afterimage passed, even the air was compressed and dispersed, forming a long and narrow passageway in the middle. Chapter 1044. Gaining the upper hand. I'll send you to hell. By the time number 1 finished his cold words, he had already arrived in front of Ningyu. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Ningyu's chest with an extremely violent Yuan Qi gale. This punch was so powerful that if Ningyu was unlucky enough to be hit, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Whoosh! In the face of number one, who was charging towards him, and a violent fluctuation of yuan qi contained in number one's fist, Ningyu made an action that puzzled everyone. He closed his eyes. Ningyu slowly closed his eyes, as if none of this had anything to do with him. It's over, it's over. Ningyu must have lost his mind. Yeah, even an idiot knows to dodge. Don't tell me Ningyu is worse than an idiot. It's hard to say. It's possible that the Grade 1 Supreme Martial Artist is too strong and turned Ningyu into an idiot. Let's not talk too much, lest something unexpected happens. Seeing Ningyu's expression, the Dark Emperor frowned slightly. What the hell? Even I'm not a match for this idiot. I. Towards the end, the Dark Emperor stuttered a little, because things had developed in a direction that he hadn't expected. Not only was the Dark Emperor dumbfounded, but even the remaining 6th Grade 1 Supreme Martial Artists of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion had their mouths agape. Bang! Number one came to Ningyu's side. Before his fist could land on Ningyu's body, his body was sent flying. Roar! Then, a loud roar sounded in the area. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures slowly appeared beside Ningyu. The 8-legged centipede and the earth shaker. After leaving the magical Beast Mountain range, the 8-legged centipede and the earth shaker had been recuperating in the storage ring. After a period of recuperation, they had mostly recovered their strength. Although there was still a gap compared to when they were at their peak, their sneak attack on number one had a miraculous effect. 8-legged centipede, earth shaker. Number one wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, "Brat, did you just come back from the magical Beast Mountain range? Where I came from doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, right?" Ningyu shrugged. In the past, it had nothing to do with me. But now, it's very much related to me. Number one twisted his neck, turned around, and said coldly, "Number two, number three, you guys deal with the earth shaker. Number four, number five, you guys deal with the 8-legged centipede. Number six, go deal with that black dog. I've already injured him, so he doesn't have much strength left." Number one ordered in an orderly manner. Yes. Number two, number three, number four, and number six responded and rushed out in the blink of an eye. Rumble. A great battle broke out instantly. Number two and number three were very powerful. Although the Earth Shaker was a 6th Grade Supreme Martial Artist, he had not recovered to his peak. His strength was only 50% of his peak, so it was quite difficult for him to fight against number two and number three. He was only able to defeat number one because he hid in the storage ring and used a sneak attack. He also had the help of the 8-legged centipede. Now that he was fighting against number two and number three alone, the Earth Shaker was even at a slight disadvantage. Comparatively speaking, number four and number five were much weaker. However, the 8-legged centipede was much weaker than the Earth Shaker, so it was just enough to tie with number four and number five. Number six, on the other hand, was miserable. As the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. No matter how injured the Dark Emperor was, he was still not someone he could defeat. It was already a mistake that the Dark Emperor could not defeat him in the first 3 moves. "You seem to be very confident that you can kill me." Ningyu flicked his wrist and took out the Red Devil Sword. Against number one, Ningyu did not dare to be careless. A powerful genius like number one could probably be ranked in the top 3 of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. What 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion's first branch's holy son, Zhuzhan? Compared to number one, the difference was like heaven and earth. Ningyu could even guess that as long as number one was willing, she only needed to use 10% of her strength to tear Zhuzhan, who was at the same cultivation level, into pieces. Your 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion's pavilion master, Jioding the Venerable, is in danger in the magical Beast Mountain range. Not only are you not going to help, but you're also making things difficult for me. What are your intentions? Ningyu's eyes darted around. If Jioding the Venerable is in danger, I want to see how you will explain yourself when you return. What does Jioding the Venerable's life or death have to do with us? Number one's lips curled. Since you saw Jioding the Venerable, you must know who killed Bao Chong. Bao Chong was killed by me, but how can I tell you? Ningyu's mouth twitched. He continued, Bao Chong was killed by the corpse sect. Only a fool would not take advantage of such a benefit. Ningyu wanted to take advantage of this time to sell out the corpse sect. The Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion's combat strength was very strong. If the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion and the corpse sect started a war, wouldn't he have profited? I don't care what you say. In short, you won't be able to escape today. Number one seemed to have completely lost his patience. He coldly shouted and immediately tore through the void, disappearing without a trace. You want to play information with me? I want to see where you are hiding. Ningyu was happy in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. Number one's aura concealment method naturally couldn't fool Ningyu. West 3 steps. In an instant, Ningyu determined number one's position. Number one seemed to be afraid of something. He had been hiding in the void and hadn't appeared. If number one didn't appear, Ningyu didn't dare to relax his vigilance. If number one suddenly attacked, wouldn't he be finished? Ningyu secretly channeled his primordial chi into his wrist and recalled the universe palm incantation in his mind. He quietly waited for number one's attack. Since you won't attack, let me do it. After waiting for about 3 minutes, seeing that number one still hadn't attacked, Ningyu suddenly stomped his feet and his body flashed. Universe palm. While moving forward, Ningyu's right hand suddenly fanned out a palm print. Rumble. The palm print that Ningyu fanned out contained extremely terrifying Yuan Qi fluctuations. In addition to the Yuan Qi fluctuations, there was also a hidden soul force fluctuation. Of course, even number one didn't notice this soul force fluctuation. You can attack. If that expert in the void attacks you, I will block it for you. It wasn't that number one didn't want to attack, but it was because he had discovered the sword of evil and was afraid that the sword of evil would suddenly attack him. He was only a first-grade human supreme martial artist. If he encountered a 7th-grade human supreme martial artist, he could only swallow his hatred. Now that the violent killer demon had agreed to help, number one was instantly relieved. Evil wave palm. With no pressure in his heart, number one immediately displayed a palm print, which clashed with Ningyu's universe palm. Crack! Crack! The 2 palm prints clashed, and 2 crisp sounds rang out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Ningyu and number one took a few steps back at the same time. Chapter 1045. You lost. Again, number one did not expect to meet an opponent in his first battle after leaving the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. Ningyu's strength was not any weaker than his. In a sense, Ningyu's talent was higher than his, because Shinto Hao had used a secret technique to forcibly control his cultivation at grade 1 Supreme Martial Artist. If not for Shinto Hao, he would have already advanced to grade 5 Supreme Martial Artist, or even grade 6 Supreme Martial Artist. For Ningyu to be able to fight him with grade 1 Supreme Martial Artist cultivation, it had to be said that Ningyu's talent was much stronger than his. I have to finish him as soon as possible. Ningyu's thoughts were different from number one's. Number one did not have too many concerns, because in the other battles, it was mostly his companions who had the upper hand. Only the Dark Emperor's side was at a slight disadvantage. But looking at the situation, number 5 would soon be able to deal with the Dark Emperor, because the 8-legged centipede was retreating to the edge of the city walls. Kid, eat another palm. Just as Ningyu was thinking, number 1 had already arrived in front of him. His right hand turned into a palm and slapped towards Ningyu. Number 1's control of Yuan Qi with every palm strike was extremely reasonable. No, it was quite perfect. The strength of his soul force should not be weak. As Ningyu fought with number 1, he secretly thought of a countermeasure. In terms of Yuan Qi, Ningyu had no way of exhausting number 1. If he could tamper with his soul force, then there was a high chance that he could defeat number 1, or even kill him. Your soul force should be at grade 7 early stage. Ningyu's figure flashed, and he barely dodged number 1's attack. What? You want to compete with me in soul force? Number 1 raised an eyebrow. My soul force is indeed grade 7 early stage. If I'm not wrong, your soul force is also grade 7 early stage. That's right. I want to compete with you in soul force, but I'm afraid you won't dare. Ningyu nodded and said, What's there to be afraid of? I've been practicing a soul attack spell a while ago, and it just so happens that I can put to good use now. Number 1 gathered the soul force in his body on his wrist, and with a violent soul force, he punched towards Ning Yu's head. Soul Power Fist. Soul Attack Spell Technique, Soul Power Fist. The name itself was easy to understand. Turning soul force into strength. Using strength to defeat the enemy. Soul Power Fist? Huh. Ningyu took a deep breath. With a thought, he poured all the soul force in his body into his wrist and pushed out. The 9th move of the Netherworld Samsara Palm. Heaven and Earth Palm. In order to defeat number 1, Ningyu not only poured his own soul power into his wrist, but also the soul power of everyone in the storage ring. Chi. Ningyu's palm strike was slightly more imposing. I don't believe you, my match. Number 1 was a little shocked, but on the surface, he said coldly, I wonder who will win, Ningyu or that martial artist. Looking at the situation, it should be that martial artist who will win. After all, that martial artist's strength is higher than Ningyu's. How do you know that martial artist is stronger than Ningyu's? Unless you fought with that martial artist before? Nonsense. I'm only at the intermediate primal core stage. I don't think I can withstand a single blow from that martial artist. Oof. You know you're weak, but you're still talking nonsense. In my opinion, Ningyu will definitely win. Impossible, Ningyu's strength. How can it be? The last martial artist was about to retort when he saw a shocking scene. In midair, Ningyu's palm and number 1's fist collided. Pa! A dull sound rang out. Ningyu and number 1 retreated at the same time. Bang! Number 1 fell heavily on the ground, his face flat on the ground. As for Ningyu, he was caught by the Dark Emperor. I admit that you're strong. Forcefully swallowing the blood in his throat, number 1 said in a low voice, Your soul attack spell technique is actually on par with my soul attack spell technique. On par. Hee, you're too optimistic. Ningyu pushed the Dark Emperor away and smiled. It's not that I'm too optimistic, it's that you're too... Puffed. However, before number 1 could finish speaking, he spat out several mouthfuls of blood. At this moment, number 1's face was as white as a sheet. Speaking of which, I have to thank you. The corner of Ningyu's lips curled up as he lightly said, If you keep competing with me in terms of yuan chi density and don't use soul attack spells, I won't be able to pose a threat to you. In fact, the martial artist who wins in the end might even be you, but at this point, Ningyu looked at number 1 and changed the topic. He said coldly, You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you compete with me in soul attack spells? This is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. Ha ha ha. At this moment, number 1 was laughing maniacally at the sky. After laughing, number 1 said, Do you really think you can defeat me? If that's what you think, I can only tell you that you're too naive. I don't need you to judge whether I'm naive or not. I only know that this day, next year, will be the anniversary of your death. Ningyu shrugged. Then, his body turned illusory and merged with the void. Oh no! As soon as Ningyu disappeared, number 1 realized something was wrong. Ningyu wanted to kill him. Bloodthirsty demon, come out and help me. In the face of death, number 1 was afraid. He was terrified. He screamed crazily and let out a hysterical roar. Crack! Clearly, number 1's screams had worked. The space around him suddenly ruptured, wrapping him firmly inside. Bang! Ningyu collided with the distorted space, and his body was instantly bounced back. Ha ha ha! Seeing that Ningyu was bounced back, number 1 laughed maniacally again. It's not that easy to kill me. Just give me 3 minutes, and I'll be back to my peak. When that time comes, it will be your death. Is that so? Hearing number 1's words, Ningyu took out the red demon sword and pointed it at the distorted space around number 1. Crack! An extremely crisp sound rang out. Number 1's voice stopped abruptly. How is that possible? That's impossible. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. Number 1's eyes widened as he stared at the distorted space in front of him. His face was filled with fear. Crack, 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 crack. Following the first cracking sound, several more cracking sounds were heard. Rumble. Finally, an earth-shattering rumble rang out. Ah, my ears. My ears are deafened. Nonsense. This is only temporary. Uft. Go, leave this place quickly. If we don't leave now, we might even lose our lives. The impact of this rumble was extremely powerful. The low-level martial artists in the surroundings were immediately deafened and fled in a sorry state. You've lost. Chapter 1046. Take care of yourself. I've lost, I've lost, I've lost. Number one's eyes became a little dim, and he kept repeating the words, I've lost. It was as if he had gone mad. Impossible. How could I lose? Suddenly, number one's eyes widened, and he said hysterically, I'm a genius among geniuses, an elite among elites. How could I be defeated? Reality is cruel. Let's face it. Ning Yu's voice rang out again. No, I don't want to. Puff. Number one couldn't believe the reality of their defeat. He moved his feet, wanted to move forward. Unfortunately, number one had forgotten about the red demon sword at his neck. The sound of a flying sword piercing into flesh rang out. Number one's mouth was slightly agape, his face full of fear. Puff! Ning Yu withdrew the flying sword from number one's neck and retreated to the other side. Whoosh! Whoosh! Seeing that Ning Yu was retreating, the eight-legged centipede and the Earthshaker also teleported and landed on either side of Ning Yu. Thump! Number one's eyes widened as his body fell backward. Until his death, Number one still could not understand how Ning Yu had broken through the distorted space around him. The frenzied, bloodthirsty demon's mastery of space was something that even some high-level supremes couldn't match. The mastery of space that Ning Yu had displayed was even more terrifying than that of the bloodthirsty mad demon. Hiss! Number one's death caused everyone who had retreated far away to suck in a breath of cold air. He died just like that. One had to know that number one's strength was exceptionally heaven-defying. Such a heaven-defying martial artist actually did not last long in the hands of Ning Yu and was easily killed. To what extent had Ning Yu's strength reached? Aunt Yun, Ning Yu is getting more and more powerful. I'm afraid something might go wrong. At the corner of the battlefield, Yun Mu frowned. Ning Yu's growth in strength is a little unexpected, but everything is still under control. Talisman martial supremacy said indifferently. Only when the fish are fattened up will it be strong enough to be slaughtered and delicious. Aunt Yun, are we really going to choose Ning Yu's body? Yin Mu hesitated. Humph. I already knew that you had feelings for that kid. But let me tell you, this matter was personally ordered by the Palace Lord, and that kid passed the test and successfully escaped from the Beast King Palace. The Talisman Supremacy glared at Yun Mu and said coldly, coupled with the divination provided by the old prophet, we can basically determine that Ning Yu's body completely conforms to the conditions, and our Flower Palace's rise will depend on this moment. But Yin Mu bit her lips and said, no, but no one can change this. The Talisman Marshal Exalt interrupted Yin Mu and said, don't worry, I can guarantee Ning Yu's safety in the next 3 days. The people sent by the Palace Lord will probably arrive in 3 days. At that time, no one will be able to save Ning Yu. Bang! On the other side, Yin Mu was still conversing with the Talisman Marshal Exalt. The battlefield in the distance became lively again. Number one was killed. How could Ning Yu let the remaining Grade 1 Supreme Martial Artist escape? He cooperated with the eight-legged centipede, Earthshaker, and the Dark Emperor. Ning Yu wielded the Red Devil Sword and charged into the crowd, activating a crazy massacre mode. It was a bit far-fetched to say that it was a massacre. Number 2 and Number 3's battle prowess was also very strong, only slightly weaker than Number 1's. Poof! Poof! Ning Yu adopted a method of killing them one by one. He first let the eight-legged centipede and the others work together to delay Number 2, Number 3, and Number 4. He then killed Number 5 and Number 6. After killing Number 5 and Number 6, Ning Yu worked together with the Dark Emperor to kill Number 4. In the end, only Number 2 and Number 3 were left in the center of the battlefield. You guys also die. Not good. However, just as Ning Yu was about to kill Number 2 and Number 3, a sudden change occurred. A middle-aged man appeared between Number 2 and Number 3. Not good. As soon as the middle-aged man appeared, Ning Yu's expression changed drastically. and he quickly retreated. Grade 7 Early Stage Human Supreme Martial Artist. The middle-aged man's cultivation was Grade 7 Early Stage Human Supreme Martial Artist, not far from Grade 7 Middle Stage Human Supreme Martial Artist. Sword of Evil. Such a strong martial artist must be dealt with by the Sword of Evil. As expected, after the middle-aged man appeared, the Sword of Evil followed closely behind. It's the frenzied massacre demon. In the distance, the talisman martial supremacy saw the middle-aged man suddenly appear, and his expression became extremely solemn. Aunt Yin, what kind of frenzied massacre demon? Who is he? Yin Mu asked. The frenzied massacre demon has a very powerful background. Although he takes orders from Shun Tu Hao, his actions are extremely strange. Sometimes, even Shun Tu Hao cannot order him around. The talisman martial supremacy said in a deep voice, the frenzied massacre demon's strength isn't particularly strong. His strength lies in his grasp of space. In the past, in order to kill an 8th grade human supreme martial artist, the frenzied massacre demon hid in the void for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, when the 8th grade human supreme martial artist passed by, he suddenly exploded and killed the 8th grade human supreme martial artist. Then isn't Ningyu in danger? Yin Mu's eyes widened as he hurriedly asked. Yes, he is. The talisman martial supremacy nodded and said, but the 7th grade human supreme martial artist in front of Ningyu isn't simple either. What's not simple about him? Yin Mu asked. He is the Sword of Evil. He has been trapped in the Beast King's palace for many years. If I'm not wrong, he should be the necromancer of the corpse sect that has taken over the body of the Yin corpse sect. Right now, his strength isn't at his peak. The talisman martial supremacy explained. At his peak, the Sword of Evil had the cultivation of a peak 8th grade human supreme martial artist. Killing the frenzied massacre demon was extremely easy for him. What's the use of that? Aunt Yin, quickly think of a way to save Ningyu. Once he's killed, his body will be wasted. Yin Mu said anxiously. There's a way. After pondering for a moment, the talisman martial supremacy said. What way? Yin Mu anxiously asked. We'll give up on Ningyu and find someone else. The talisman martial supremacy said in a deep voice. I never thought that Shinahao would even call the frenzied massacre demon over. As matters stand, whether Ningyu can survive will depend on his own luck. Aunt Yin, I know that you definitely have a way. Just think of a way to save Ningyu. If you don't save him, you won't be able to bear the blame of the palace master. Yin Mu still wanted to fight for Ningyu. Don't say anymore. I know what I'm doing. The talisman martial supremacy said coldly. You must know that other than the frenzied massacre demon, there is still the even stronger Shintu Hao. If I use my trump card now, when Shintu Hao appears, what will I use to contend against him? If Ningyu can't even withstand the frenzied massacre demon, it means that he doesn't meet the requirements of our 100-flower palace. We must immediately find someone else to replace him. Rumble. Yin Mu's head was about to explode. By saying this, the talisman martial supremacy was clearly giving up on Ningyu. This won't do. I must think of a way to force Aunt Yin to help Ningyu. Chapter 1047. Suspended animation. You are very strong, but you are not my opponent. The frenzied bloodlust demon stared at the Sword of Evil and said in a hoarse voice, Hand over the martial artist behind you, and I will spare your life. Wishful thinking. Reverend Sword Evil said with a solemn expression. The Sword of Evil was well aware of his own strength. The mad bloodlust demon was right. He was no match for him. However, even if he wasn't a match for the frenzied bloodlust demon, the Sword of Evil had to bite the bullet. Courting death. With a low roar, the frenzied slaughtered demon charged forward. In the hands of the crazed killer, Ningyu was already a dead man. Retreat. The Sword of Evil strode forward with his low-grade monarch rank flying sword in hand and slashed at the air. Chi. The sword light was abnormally huge, and wherever it passed, the air parted to avoid it. The frenzied slaughter demon didn't seem to care about such a huge sword ray and continued to move forward. What happened? Ningyu was puzzled by the frenzied bloodlust demon's actions. No matter how strong you are, you should have dodged the attack from the sword of evil. Could it be that the frenzied, bloodthirsty demon was so strong that he was fearless? Whoosh! What happened next made Ningyu freeze on the spot. Not only Ningyu, but even the surrounding cultivators, as well as the talisman martial supremacy and Yunmu in the distance, stood there in a daze. The sword of evil's sword light pierced through the wild bloodlust demon's body, splitting it in half. Gulp! No one had expected such a sudden change. Isn't that martial artist a little too weak? Before they could even reach the others, they would be cut in half. He's not a noob. He's a very noob. I didn't expect it to be a wax head with a silver spear. I can't see through it. I can't see through it. Oh my God. Hearing the first few martial artists saying that it was the frenzied killer demonic dish, the last martial artist also chimed in. The last warrior stammered as he reached the end of his sentence. The mad bloodlust demon had already appeared in front of the sword of evil and sent a punch towards the sword of evil's chest. An afterimage. The sword ray didn't hit the frenzied bloodlust demon itself, but its afterimage. The mad bloodlust demon's main body had already arrived at the sword of evil's side. He punched the sword of evil in the chest. Pa! A muffled sound rang out. The sword of evil was like a kite with a broken string as it floated in the air. I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Don't blame me. The violent bloodlust demon didn't stop there. An expert like the sword of evil had to be defeated in one go. As long as there was a chance, he might be able to make a comeback. The rise of the strong was even more terrifying than the rise of a salted fish. I'm not a pushover either. The sword of evil gripped the flying sword tightly in his hand and unleashed several sword beams in a row. Whoosh! In front of venerable sword evil, a few hundred sword rays appeared in the air and surrounded him tightly. Child's play. The violent bloodlust demon didn't care about the hundreds of sword beams at all. His body gradually became illusory and soon merged with the void. Bang! After 0.1 second, the violent bloodlust demon appeared in front of the sword of evil and punched the sword of evil's chest. Uft! The violent bloodlust demon's punch was extremely powerful. The sword of evil spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped rapidly. Impossible. This time, it was Ningyu who said it was impossible. The hundreds of sword beams around the sword of evil were enough to block a mid-stage 7th rank martial artist. The violent bloodlust demon was only an early stage 7th rank martial artist. How could he pass through the sword beams without any warning? It's spatial attainment. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something, and his face became extremely solemn. It seemed that the violent bloodlust demon's spatial attainment was more than a level higher than the sword of evils. In a battle between experts, soul force, the density of yuan qi, and cultivation would play a crucial role. However, there was an even more terrifying factor that could decide the outcome of the battle. That was the attainment of space. The violent bloodlust demon's control of space was much stronger than the sword of evils. Their cultivation, yuan qi, and soul force were about the same. So how could the sword reverend fight the crazed bloodlust demon? Given the current situation, there was only one way for the sword of evil to defeat the violent bloodlust demon. He had to detect the violent bloodlust demon's location at all times. This was the only way to turn the tide and kill the violent bloodlust demon. Sword of evil. If you know exactly where the violent bloodlust demon is, how confident are you in killing him? Just as the sword of evil was feeling troubled by his inability to defeat the violent bloodlust demon, Ningyu's voice suddenly appeared in his mind. Are you serious? The sword of evil's eyes widened as he replied hurriedly. Of course. Ningyu had the law of space. Using the feedback from the law of space, he could accurately locate the violent bloodlust demon. If I know where the violent bloodlust demon is, I have at least an 80% chance of killing him. The sword of evil said in a low voice. The sword of evil knew that Ningyu would not lie to him. Moreover, at this point, he had to believe in Ningyu. If he did not believe him, he would die. He believed that perhaps Ningyu could really bring about a miracle. Die. The violent bloodlust demon clearly had no intention of leaving him alive. With a low shout, it melted into the void once more. 10 meters to the east. As the violent bloodlust demon disappeared, Ningyu began to communicate with the law of space. According to the information transmitted back by the law of space, Ningyu continuously reported the violent bloodlust demon's location. 10 meters to the west. 6 meters to the south. Not good, it's behind you. At first, the violent bloodlust demon's movements were very rhythmic. Just when Ningyu thought that the violent bloodlust demon would move to the north of the Sword of Evil, it suddenly appeared behind the Sword of Evil. Let's do it. The Sword of Evil channeled all the primal chi in his sea of consciousness into the low-grade, royal-grade flying sword, turned around, and thrust it out. Puffed. The Sword of Evil originally did not hold any hope for this strike. However, when the sound of a flying sword piercing flesh rang out, the Sword of Evil stood rooted to the ground, speechless for a long time. Buzz. Not long after, a middle-aged man appeared in front of the Sword of Evil. The violent bloodlust demon. This middle-aged man was none other than the violent bloodlust demon. The violent bloodlust demon lowered his head to look at the flying sword stuck in his heart and opened his mouth slightly. He pointed his finger at the Sword of Evil and said coldly, "How did you find me?" The violent bloodlust demon could not believe it. How did the Sword of Evil find him? This did not make sense at all. "How'd I find you?" The Sword of Evil pointed at his nose and looked at Ningyu. "Very good. So it's you." After saying this, the violent bloodlust demon closed his eyes and died on the spot. Phew! After the violent bloodlust demon was killed, Ningyu let out a long sigh of relief. The stone in his heart was finally lifted. If the violent bloodlust demon had not been killed, he would have been finished. Rumble. However, before Ningyu could deal with number 2 and number 3, his pupil shrank. This was because Ningyu discovered that a rumbling sound came from the violent bloodlust demon's body. Swoosh. Chapter 1048. Other experts, what a familiar feeling. Opening his eyes, the violent bloodlust demon licked his lips and said, "This is the 8th time I've been killed. One more time, and I'll be done." "The 8th time you've been killed?" Ningyu was stunned at first, but then he was overjoyed as he vaguely guessed the violent bloodlust demon's identity. 9 destiny. People like the violent bloodlust demon were commonly known as people with 9 destiny. Just like a cat, they had 9 lives. As long as they weren't torn into pieces, they could come back to life in a short period of time. Every time they came back to life, their strength would increase by leaps and bounds. It was almost a perverted change. For example, the violent bloodlust demon was an initial 7th grade human sovereign, but now he was a peak 7th grade human sovereign. He was only a step away from 8th grade human sovereign. Of course, people with 9 destiny were not completely fearless. There was a way to destroy their 9-fold life providence physiques, causing their strength to instantly plummet to rock bottom. And Ningyu happened to know this method. This was also the reason why Ningyu revealed an overjoyed expression. Sword of Evil, later you. Thinking of this, Ningyu hastily sent a soul message to venerable Sword Nefarious, telling him how to restrain the wild bloodlust fiend. "I'll come for your lives in 3 days." The violent bloodlust demon's eyes swept across Ningyu and the others. Then his body melted into the void and disappeared. Buzz. Not long after the violent bloodlust demon disappeared, the Sword of Evil's body also turned illusory and disappeared from everyone's sight. Ningyu, did the Sword of Evil go after the violent bloodlust demon? Seeing the Sword of Evil disappear, the Dark Emperor asked with a frown. "That's right. We're going after the violent bloodlust demon, and we're going to bring its corpse here." Ningyu nodded and said, "Are you confused from the fever?" The Dark Emperor widened his mouth as he exclaimed, "The violent bloodlust demon's cultivation is at the pinnacle of the 7th grade sovereign realm. If the Sword of Evil goes there, it's no different from courting death. The strength of the Sword of Evil is not something you can fathom. Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor and said, "There are still 2 first-grade human sovereigns over there. Shall I leave them to you?" Don't. You should deal with it." The Dark Emperor hurriedly waved his hand. What a joke. Number 2 and Number 3 were not much weaker than Number 1. With the Dark Emperor's current strength, he was still unable to contend against heaven-defying martial artists like Number 2 and Number 3, let alone kill them. "It's good that you know. Earthshaker, follow me." As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu rose from the ground and dashed out. His target was Number 2. Whoosh. As for Earthshaker, he rushed towards Number 3. "No. 3, I'll hold him off. Hurry up and call the first elder." Number 2 took a step forward and stood in front of Number 3. He said in a deep voice, "Once the first elder arrives, they will all die." Understood. Even Number 1 had been killed. If he stayed, he would not have a good time. Besides, Number 3's mission was to surround and annihilate Jioding the Venerable, not Ningyu. Therefore, after Number 2 helped him block the attack from Ningyu and Earthshaker, he immediately tore open a rift and disappeared without a word. Where do you think you're going? With the Dark Emperor and the 8-legged centipede around, how could he let Number 3 escape? With a deep roar, the Dark Emperor and the 8-legged centipede attacked at the same time. All kinds of techniques were thrown at Number 3. Poochie. Although the Dark Emperor and the 8-legged centipede were not as strong as Ningyu and Earthshaker, Number 3's strength was not as strong as Number 2. In just 3 minutes, Number 3 was killed by the Dark Emperor and the 8-legged centipede. Kaboom! As soon as Number 3 was killed, the outcome of the battle on the other side of the battlefield was also decided. Ningyu landed a punch on Number 2's heart. The terrifyingly powerful impact shattered Number 2's heart. Number 3 and Number 2 were killed one after another, causing the surrounding spectators to gasp involuntarily. How terrifying! How terrifying! Initially, no one was optimistic about Ningyu's chances, especially after the appearance of the wild bloodlust demon. Everyone thought Ningyu was done for. Even if he was not killed, he would become an idiot. Who would have thought that not only did Ningyu not die, he would also be able to resolve the crisis? The only thing that the crowd was confused about was when the wild bloodlust demon would return. Let's go. After successfully killing Number 2 and Number 3, Ningyu and the others did not stay in the same place. Instead, their figures gradually turned illusory. When Ningyu and the others completely disappeared, the surroundings became noisy again. Ningyu is too powerful. Why does Ningyu's strength increase so much every now and then? God knows why. What's the use of Ningyu's strength? Don't forget that the Ning family still has a high human supreme martial artist. That's right. Even Ningyu couldn't kill that high human supreme martial artist, let alone the Ning family's high human supreme martial artist. In my opinion, if Ningyu goes back now, he's just courting death. Ningyu is not the least bit concerned about the crowd's discussion. After leaving Tianxian City, Ningyu's first choice was not the Ning family, but the Snow Pavilion. At this time, in a room of the Snow Pavilion. "You are the new pavilion master of Tianxian City's Snow Pavilion?" Ningyu's gaze slowly swept across the middle stage, true martial realm martial artist in front of him. He said in a deep voice, "Tell me about the Ning family's current situation." "I'm the pavilion master of Tianxian City's Snow Pavilion, Huyang." Facing Ningyu, Huyang was a little trembling. Huyang had long heard of Ningyu's fame. The reason why the Snow Pavilion was able to survive was all because of Ningyu. Otherwise, the Snow Pavilion would have long disappeared from the Great Xia Kingdom. After sorting out his thoughts, Huyang said, "The Ning family situation is not optimistic. All the upper echelons are trapped in a secret chamber." Trapped in a secret chamber. Ningyu slightly frowned and continued, "Who is the leader, and what is his cultivation?" It is reported that the leader is the Nine Cauldrons Divine Pavilion's great elder, Shun Tu Hao, a 7th grade supreme martial artist. As for whether he is a 7th grade intermediate or initial, I do not know. Hu Yang replied. Besides Shun Tu Hao, there's also a 5th grade supreme martial artist and a 4th grade supreme martial artist. Looks like I have to wait for the Sword of Evil to return. Otherwise, I won't be able to rescue everyone from the Ning family. Ningyu fell into deep thought. With his current strength, let alone contending against Shun Tu Hao. He wouldn't even be able to last 3 moves against him. A 7th grade supreme martial artist was not just for show. Ning Yu's current cultivation was a 1st grade supreme martial artist. If he wanted to contend against a 7th grade supreme martial artist, his cultivation would have to reach the peak of 2nd grade supreme martial artist or even 3rd grade supreme martial artist. Otherwise, fighting against a 7th grade supreme martial artist would only result in death. Tell me about what happened in Tianxian City during this period of time and whether there are any experts from other forces in Tianxian City. Chapter 1049. Cursing. Since you left last time, 3 major events have happened in Tianxian City. After sorting out his thoughts, Hu Yang arrived slowly. It turned out that in just a few days, many things had happened in Tianxian City. Among them, 3 things caught Ning Yu's attention. First, the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion's great elder, Shun Tu Hao, had forcefully entered the Ning family and trapped the Ning family's higher-ups. Second, a group of people from the Lanqing nation had arrived. The martial artist leading them was extremely powerful, at least a 7th grade human supreme. Among the group from the Lanqing nation, there were 2 extremely special martial artists. The Lanqing nation's Feng family's young master, Feng Wan, and the Lanqing nation's first prince. The reason why they were considered special was because their cultivations were all 1st grade human supreme martial artists. The Lanqing nation's power was comparable to the Great Xia nation's. For so many years, the Great Xia kingdom rarely produced a supreme being. But the Lanqing nation suddenly had 2 young 1st grade human supreme. How could Ning Yu not be shocked? As for the third matter, it was also the strangest thing to Ning Yu. Recently, there had been people disappearing in Tianxian City. Among these missing martial artists, there were true martial realm and peak manifestation realm. A few hours ago, a 4th grade human supreme that Shun Tu Hao had brought with him had also disappeared for no reason. Because of this, Shun Tu Hao flew into a rage in order to find the culprit at all costs. At the same time, Shun Tu Hao also went to look for him personally. This was also the reason why Shun Tu Hao did not return in time when number 1 to 9 were killed. Because Shun Tu Hao had already found the location of the 4th grade human supreme. No matter what, he had to find out. I got it. You can leave first. Waving his hand, Ning Yu gestured for Hu Yang to leave first. These 3 matters were more troublesome for Ning Yu. But the most troublesome was still Shun Tu Hao. I don't know when the Sword of Evil will return. If he doesn't, I won't be able to go to the Ning family. As he did not know that Shun Tu Hao was no longer in the Ning family, Ning Yu did not dare to act rashly. He could only wait for the Sword of Evil to return before he dared to go over. Earthshaker, 8-legged centipede. Go and stand guard outside. Don't let anyone in without my permission. After a moment of silence, Ning Yu said, Understood. The 8-legged centipede and the Earthshaker did not linger. In a flash, they left the room. Whoosh! After the 8-legged centipede and the others left, Ning Yu commanded his storage ring to shoot forth a massive pillar of light. His father in this life, Ning Hai, emerged from his storage ring in a daze. Your father's condition seems very serious. The Dark Emperor circled around Ning Hai a few times before saying, There seems to be a protective barrier on his body. My perception can't enter his body at all. That's right. I can't penetrate his body with my perception either. Ning Yu took a deep breath and said, Back then, your father was with the adamantine goat. It should know how to break the protective barrier. The Dark Emperor had a vexed expression. If he had known this would happen, he would have warned Ning Yu and forced him to tell him how to save his father. It's useless. If I'm not wrong, the protective barrier on my father should be the work of the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. Ning Yu said solemnly. The Supreme 9 Purities Temple? The Dark Emperor raised his brows. You mean we have to go to the Supreme 9 Purities Temple? Not now. My father is only sealed. He won't be in danger for the time being. Our top priority now is to resolve the crisis of the Ning family first, then go to the Supreme 9 Purities Temple. Ning Yu shook his head. Apart from my father, there's also Lu Wei. Anyway, it's a mess now. Power. I need to improve my power urgently. At this moment, Ningyu really wanted to improve his power. However, Ningyu knew that haste makes waste. He had already improved his cultivation from the manifestation realm to the first-grade human supreme realm in a short period of time. It would be extremely difficult for him to improve his cultivation to the second-grade human supreme realm. For the current Ningyu, improving his cultivation was not the only way to improve his power. For example, he could cultivate the universe palm, cultivate his soul power, control the law of space, the sapling. That's right. At this thought, Ningyu's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly communicated with the sapling. Ever since it devoured a lot of energy in the Earth-level Great Hall, the sapling had fallen into a deep sleep. No matter how Ningyu shouted, the sapling did not respond. Now that so much time had passed, according to Ningyu's guess, the sapling should have woken up by now. Buzz. As expected, the moment Ningyu communicated with the sapling, it sprang out of his storage ring. At this moment, the sapling had grown even bigger. The roots of the sapling were firmly locked onto the branch of the world tree. Chi. After the sapling appeared, it started its frenzied, devouring mode. The energy in the air was continuously devoured by the sapling. Shenyang pill. Looking at the fist-sized pill that appeared on the sapling, Ningyu was shocked. In the past, most of the holy energy that the sapling had devoured was for his own use. Could it be that the sun rose from the west? Gulp. Staring at the Shenyang pill on the sapling, the Dark Emperor swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his face burning with passion. Ningyu, the Shenyang pill is so huge. If you hand it to me, I can raise my cultivation to the pinnacle of grade 1 or even grade 2 within 3 days. The Dark Emperor said hurriedly. Go scram to the side. You want to raise to grade 2 with a single Shenyang pill? Are Shenyang pills that powerful? Why don't I know about it? Ningyu waved his hand. Hee, one is impossible. If I had 3 Shenyang pills, raising to grade 2 would be as easy as drinking water. The Dark Emperor snickered. Given the nature of the sapling, it's already a blessing in disguise for it to produce a single Shenyang pill. 3? Are you sure you're not joking with me? Ningyu pursed his lips in disbelief. Ningyu understood the sapling's nature well. Unless it devoured too much energy from the void, there was no way it would have enough energy to produce Shenyang pills. There were only 2 possibilities for the sapling to produce Shenyang pills. First, it had devoured too much energy that it couldn't digest. Second, it had reached a bottleneck. No matter how much energy it devoured, it wouldn't be able to grow. Could it be that the sapling had reached a bottleneck? Shifting his gaze to the sapling, Ningyu wanted to see if it could produce 2 Shenyang pills. Within the room, the sapling continued to devour the energy in the void. Ningyu and the Dark Emperor stared fixedly at the sapling, at the Shenyang pill that was hanging on it. 10 minutes later, Wong, the first Shenyang pill was formed and fell to the ground. Swish! Before the Shenyang pill even landed on the ground, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth wide and swallowed the Shenyang pill whole. FCK. Chapter 1050. Dark Emperor Ascension Kacha. The Dark Emperor could even devour a grade 1 human supreme instantly, let alone a Shenyang pill the size of a fist. Almost instantly, the Dark Emperor chewed up the Shenyang pill and swallowed it whole. Burp. After swallowing the Shenyang pill, the Dark Emperor burped out in satisfaction. F*CK the Dark Abyss Crystal. Seeing the Dark Emperor's infuriating look, Ningyu had the urge to beat him up. You swallowed such a huge Shenyang pill without even batting an eyelid? A Shenyang pill that was the size of a fist contained a massive amount of Saint Chi. Even a heaven-devouring hound would not be able to handle it. Sure enough, Ningyu's guess was right. Not long after, the Dark Emperor was rolling around on the ground, looking very miserable. How dare you devour as you please? Ningyu glared at the Dark Emperor in annoyance. He then deployed his senses and tried his best to help the Dark Emperor refine the Shenyang pill within his body. Although the Dark Emperor was gluttonous, Ningyu could not ignore him. If Ningyu did not help the Dark Emperor cultivate the Xingyang pills, it was not hard to imagine that the Dark Emperor would definitely implode after a period of time. Chi-Chi, as Ningyu was working hard to help the Dark Emperor refine the Xingyang pill within his body, a second Xingyang pill was silently forming on the sapling. Furthermore, it was growing at a shocking rate. At this rate, the second Xingyang pill would be formed in less than 4 hours. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, half an hour had passed. After half an hour of full-force refinement, the amount of Xingyang pills in the Dark Emperor's body had already been reduced by half. At this moment, the Dark Emperor returned to normal. Who knows? The Dark Emperor might really be able to advance to the second-grade human sovereign realm after refining the Xingyang pill completely. Feeling the terrifying aura that the Dark Emperor was emitting, Ningyu muttered. The strength of the sky-devouring hound would increase explosively as its cultivation increased. Back then, the Phantom Mouse, a peak 7th-grade human sovereign, had easily defeated Venerable Wind, a peak 7th-grade human sovereign. According to Ningyu's conjecture, once the Dark Emperor advanced to 2nd-grade sovereign, he would even be able to easily kill a 5th-grade sovereign. Hong Fian. Ningyu's attention did not stay on the Dark Emperor for too long. His mind moved, and he shouted in a low voice. Whoosh! As Ningyu growled, the Red Fiend flew out of the Red Fiend sword. If I give you the Red Demon sword, what level of human supreme can you deal with? Ningyu went straight to the point. 2nd class, or 3rd class. After pondering for a moment, the Red Demon replied. The Red Fiend was extremely weak, so weak that it was terrifying. Without the Red Fiend sword, the Red Fiends could not even defeat a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm. With the help of the Red Demon sword, Hong Mo might not be able to defeat a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist, but he wouldn't lose either. Your strength is still too weak. If I give you a Xingyang pill, to what level can you raise your strength to? The Red Fiend's strength had always been a knot in Ningyu's heart. He himself had advanced to a 1st-grade human sovereign, and the Dark Emperor was also a 1st-grade human sovereign. There is even a high chance that he could advance to a 2nd-grade human sovereign. Among the 3 brothers, the Red Fiend's cultivation was the weakest. He wasn't even at the peak of the creation realm. Raising the Red Fiend's strength was something that Ningyu had to do at the current stage. With the Xingyang pill, I can raise my cultivation to the half-step sovereign realm, the Red Fiend said solemnly. The half-step sovereign realm is too weak, Ningyu said with a slight frown. As their enemies grew stronger, Ningyu knew that the 3 brothers had to keep raising their cultivation. Otherwise, they would only end up dead. I'm the spiritual body of the Red Fiend sword. As long as the Red Fiend sword can raise another level, my strength will rise as well. The Red Fiend knew what Ningyu was worried about. He waved it off and said, furthermore, our enemies will be very strong in the future. It'll be hard for me to face them alone. Don't belittle yourself, Ningyu said in a deep voice. Based on my estimations, the Red Fiend sword should be one of the top Emperor-grade flying swords. Given our strength, raising the Red Fiend sword by another level will be harder than ascending to the heavens. Enter the Red Fiend sword first. As long as another Xingyang pill appears on the sapling, I'll give it to you immediately. This all right. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Red Fiend opened his mouth as though he wanted to say something. However, he didn't say anything in the end and entered the Red Fiend sword. The Red Fiend knew that once Ningyu had decided on something, it would be hard for him to change his mind. To be honest, it was indeed a waste for him to consume the Xingyang pill. A normal-sized Xingyang pill was equivalent to hundreds of Saint-grade Yuan crystals. As long as the Yuan crystals reached the Saint grade, the effect would be different. There was a huge gap between Saint-grade Yuan crystals and Royal-grade Yuan crystals. If other Sovereign Realm cultivators were to know that Ningyu possessed a sapling that could produce Saint-grade Yuan crystals, Ningyu's life would probably come to an end. A single Xingyang pill was enough to cause a huge battle between 2 7th-grade sovereigns. Half a pill? Seeing the red fiend enter the red fiend sword, Ningyu raised his head and looked at the sapling in the air. What he saw left Ningyu dumbfounded. There was half a Shenyang pill hanging on the sapling. How long had it been? Half an hour. In just half an hour, the sapling had produced half a Shenyang pill. Didn't that mean that the sapling would produce a Shenyang pill every hour? Ningyu's face blazed. He could ignore the royal grade flying sword and give up on the royal grade yuan crystals at any time. But now that the sapling could produce Shenyang pills at such a fast speed, he was finally moved. With the Dark Emperor's physique, as long as he had enough Shenyang pills, he would be able to reach a higher realm in a short period of time. A single Shenyang pill could allow the Dark Emperor to advance from a first-grade sovereign to a second-grade sovereign. Then, 3 Shenyang pills could allow the Dark Emperor to advance to a third-grade sovereign. Gulp! At the thought of this, even Ningyu couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Scary. This was way too scary. Taking in a deep breath, Ningyu stared at the sapling and the half Shenyang pill hanging on it. In the room, the Dark Emperor was refining the Shenyang pill while Ningyu was staring at the sapling. Everything was progressing in an orderly manner. Boom! Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed. A terrifying aura was emitted from the Dark Emperor's body, pressing down on Ningyu. Boom! At the same time, an aura that wasn't any weaker than the Dark Emperor's surged out from Ningyu's body. Pust! The 2 auras clashed and dissipated into the surroundings. Dark Emperor, you've advanced to a second-grade sovereign. Feeling the undulations of the Dark Emperor's aura, Ningyu's eyes widened. What's the use of that? Even if I advance to a second-grade sovereign, I still can't defeat you. The Dark Emperor was a little crestfallen. Initially, the Dark Emperor thought that he would be able to defeat Ningyu easily after advancing to a second-grade sovereign. But from the looks of it, he was still too young. Chapter 1051. Unforeseen events, you can't put it that way. You're already able to fight me after advancing to Grade 2. As long as you continue to work hard and advance to Grade 3, you'll definitely be able to defeat me. Ningyu retracted his aura and began consoling the Dark Emperor. My ass. From now on, I'll take all the Shenyang pills that the sapling produces. The Dark Emperor glared at Ningyu fiercely. You might need a few days to refine a single Shenyang pill. However, for us heaven-devouring dogs, we don't even need a day to refine a single Shenyang pill. We'll only need a few hours to refine it completely. You have the cheek to say something like that. Ningyu let out a look of disdain. Forget it. If not for my help, you would have long exploded from the Shenyang pill. How could you possibly refine it then? I don't care. All the Shenyang pills produced by the sapling will be taken by me. By me. The Dark Emperor harumphed coldly. The Dark Emperor's cold words had only been spoken halfway when his expression changed drastically. Sure. That was because he saw that the second Shenyang pill on the sapling had already formed. The formation of the Shenyang pill wasn't scary. What was scary was that Ningyu had already arrived before the sapling and plucked the Shenyang pill. You can't use this Shenyang pill. Flicking his wrist, Ningyu tossed the Shenyang pill into the Red Fiend's sword. The cultivation of the Red Fiend is slightly weaker. Leave this Shenyang pill for him to consume. Initially, the Dark Emperor had wanted to argue with Ningyu. However, when he heard Ningyu's words, he wilted. Indeed, the cultivation of the Red Fiend was the weakest among the 3 of them. He had no objections to leaving the Shenyang pill for the Red Fiend. Ningyu, the 3rd Shenyang pill is mine. You and the Red Fiend can't snatch it from me. In a flash, the Dark Emperor arrived beside the sapling and waited silently. By the looks of it, the 3rd Shenyang pill was definitely going to be his. Ningyu shrugged. He couldn't be bothered to get entangled with the Dark Emperor. So what if the 3rd Shenyang pill was given to him? After all, the sapling would produce a Shenyang pill every once in a while. With the help of a Shenyang pill, it would be very difficult for him to raise his cultivation from Grade 1 human sovereign to Grade 2 human sovereign. Thus, One less Shenyang pill wouldn't make a difference. Speaking of which, I'm really a bit of a freak. Ningyu laughed at himself. The reason why Ningyu thought he was a freak was because his physique was special. Every time his cultivation level increased, he needed an enormous amount of essence qi. The sky-devouring hound required an enormous amount of yuan qi to advance from grade 1 to grade 2, but the amount of yuan qi required by Ningyu was even greater. At the very least, I need 2 Shenyang pills or even 3 Shenyang pills to advance from grade 1 human sovereign to grade 2 human sovereign. Shaking his head, Ningyu tossed those thoughts to the back of his mind before recalling the cultivation method of the universe palm. At the realm of initial success, the palm print will be able to transform into the left half of the heaven character. At the realm of intermediate success, the palm print would be able to transform into a complete heaven character. At the realm of greater success, the palm print would be able to transform into a heaven character. At the realm of ultimate success, the palm print would be able to transform into a single character. I've cultivated the universe palm to initial success previously. This time around, I'll try to cultivate it to the realm of intermediate success. Narrowing his eyes, Ningyu channeled the yuan qi in his sea of consciousness into his palm and started cultivating the universe palm. The universe palm was the 9th stance of the netherworld samsara palm and was extremely powerful. If Ningyu could cultivate the universe palm to the realm of ultimate success, his strength could even increase by 50%. Kacha! With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu sent out multiple palm prints. When the palm print was in midair, it dissipated on its own. This won't do. The realm of universe palm is too difficult to grasp. Ningyu frowned slightly and gave up on cultivating the universe palm for the time being. The first few stances of the netherworld samsara palm did not pose much pressure to Ningyu. There were even a few stances that he could cultivate to the realm of ultimate success within an hour. But the further he got to the latter few stances, the harder it was to cultivate. Especially when it came to the realm of the universe palm, it was not something that could be successfully cultivated with vigorous yuan qi and strong soul force. It was about comprehension. Speaking of comprehension, for Ningyu to be able to cultivate to Sky Supreme in his previous life, he should not be considered too weak. But in the realm of the universe palm, he stumbled and was unable to cultivate it to the realm of intermediate success. Seems like the method isn't right. I'll change it. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu decided to adopt a different method to cultivate the universe palm. For the realm of initial success, he relied on yuan qi to successfully cultivate the universe palm. His yuan qi was the main, and his soul force was supplementary. For the realm of intermediate success, he decided to use his soul force as the main and his yuan qi as supplementary. The soul force in his body rumbled as Ningyu injected all his yuan qi into the surface of his wrist without any hesitation. Buzz! On the surface of his palm, terrifying yuan qi constantly rumbled as though it was trying to break free from Ningyu's palm. The strength of Ningyu's soul force was at the early stage of 7th grade. With the strength of the early stage of 7th grade, coupled with the majestic yuan qi, Ningyu suddenly blasted out with his right hand. Swoosh! In the next moment, a red palm print peeled off from Ningyu's palm. Qian! In midair, a huge Qian character appeared. Success! Looking at the huge character in midair, Ningyu let out a long breath. If he continued to cultivate according to the previous method, Ningyu might not be able to successfully cultivate the realm of universe palm, even if he spent a day. Changing his cultivation method, he only used half an hour to easily cultivate universe palm to the realm of intermediate success. The speed at which the sapling produces Shenyang pills seems to have slowed down significantly. Looking at the Shenyang pill hanging on the sapling, Ningyu mumbled to himself. The first Shenyang pill took less than half an hour to form. The second Shenyang pill took 2 hours to form. As for the third Shenyang pill, if nothing went wrong, it would take another 5 hours to form. If this goes on, I'll be lucky to be able to produce 3 Shenyang pills a day. Initially, Ningyu had high hopes for the sapling. After all, it had produced 2 Xingyang pills in such a short period of time. But now, it seemed like he had rejoiced too early. Forget it. It's good that it can produce Xingyang pills. It's better than nothing. Turning his head away, Ningyu stopped observing the sapling and started cultivating. Cultivating the universe palm had taken quite a toll on him. He had to recover his strength back to its peak before he could start investigating the crisis of the Ning family and think of a way to rescue everyone who was trapped. Within the room, Ningyu was cultivating while the Dark Emperor was staring at the Xingyang pill on the sapling without shifting his attention away for a single moment. Everything seemed to be in harmony. Creak. However, this harmony did not last for long before it was broken. A figure slammed heavily against the wooden door, causing it to burst open. Swoosh! The sudden change caused Ningyu to stand up abruptly, and his expression became extremely gloomy. That was because this figure was none other than the 8-legged centipede. Chapter 1052. Impossible. Rumble. Although Earthshaker and the Black-Robed Elder were both 6th-grade supreme martial artists, Ningyu could clearly tell that Earthshaker was at a disadvantage. Moreover, there were 4 cultivators behind the battlefield. 2 young cultivators and 2 middle-aged men. The young cultivators were all 1st-grade supreme martial artists. The middle-aged man was a 5th-grade supreme martial artist. 2 1st-grade supreme martial artists, 2 5th-grade supreme martial artists, and a 6th-grade supreme martial artist elder who was fighting Earthshaker. No wonder they could cause such a huge commotion. Fortunately, there are no fatal injuries. Ningyu used his senses to probe the 8-legged centipede and let out a long sigh. The 8-legged centipede was a 4th-grade supreme martial artist demonic beast. Its body was terrifyingly hard. 2 5th-grade supreme martial artists alone would not be able to kill it in a short time. Dark Emperor, stop watching and come with me. Ningyu waved his wrist and sent the sapling into his storage ring. He then walked out of the room. When he came to the 8-legged centipede, Ningyu paused for a moment and said, "Hold on for a while. I will be back to treat you soon." After that, Ningyu came to the door and stood still. "Hee, you will be treating the 8-legged centipede soon?" As soon as Ningyu left the room, one of the young cultivators smiled and said, "Ningyu, we wanted to go to the capital to look for you. Who would have thought that we would meet you here? If that's the case, we can only send you to hell first. You know me?" Hearing that, Ningyu was slightly startled. He hesitated and said, "Could it be that you are from the Lanqing nation?" "Oh, not bad, not bad. You know our name." The young cultivator said, "I am from the Phone clan of the Lanqing nation. My name is Phone 1. The one beside me is the eldest prince of the Lanqing nation. Your names have nothing to do with me. What I want to ask is why you attacked my friend," Ningyu said in a deep voice. Whether it was Phone 1 or the first prince, Ningyu did not care about them. The talents of Phone 1 and the first prince were not particularly top-notch. Even if they had raised their cultivation to 1st-grade human sovereign, they were no different from trash in Ningyu's eyes. The only ones that Ningyu found troublesome were the 6th-grade human supreme realm Black-Robed Elder and the 2 5th-grade human supreme realm elders beside him. Earthshaker was no match for the Black-Robed Elder. He could only last for half an hour at most. Any longer, and he would definitely be defeated. Dark Emperor, what are your chances of victory against a 5th-grade human sovereign? Ningyu transmitted his voice to the Dark Emperor. No matter how weak he is, I can still contend against him. If he is slightly weaker, I can even kill him. At this point, the Dark Emperor's expression had also become very solemn. Danger. At this moment, the Dark Emperor felt a deep sense of danger. "All right, I'll leave 1 5th-grade human sovereign to you. Earthshaker will deal with the Black-Robed Elder and leave the other 5th-grade human sovereign to me." Ningyu nodded his head and quickly arranged everything. Phone 1 and the first prince of the Lanqing kingdom were not part of Ningyu's plan. Bang! However, just as Ningyu finished arranging the plan, something unexpected happened. A crisp sound rang out in the area. Shortly after, a figure was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. Earthshaker. The figure that was sent flying was none other than Earthshaker. falling heavily onto the ground. Earthshaker's aura rapidly weakened. Can't even withstand a single blow. After repelling Earthshaker, the black-robed elder curled his lips and faintly said, "I've even killed demonic beasts that are stronger than you. Not to mention trash like you, Earthshaker. Venerable spiritual rune is indeed powerful." Seeing the Earthshaker divine ox being pushed back, Feng went immediately bootlicked. "I reckon that the Venerable will be able to reach the 7th grade sovereign realm in just a short period of time. This is truly a cause for celebration. At that time, I hope that the Venerable can guide me." Well said, well said. Both of your talents are top-notch in the Launching Kingdom. Venerable Spiritual Rune was very satisfied with Feng Wen's flattery. "With my recommendation, the two of you will definitely be able to enter the ranks of core disciples in the next disciple recruitment." Hearing Venerable Spiritual Rune's words, Feng Wen and the first prince of the Launching Kingdom were ecstatic. The disciples of the Blood God Palace were divided into outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, and core disciples. Once a core disciple reached the rank of core disciple, they would be able to enjoy a lot of benefits. Becoming a core disciple of the Blood God Palace wasn't just about having a high cultivation, but also having a recommendation. Originally, Feng Wen and the first prince of the Launching Kingdom thought that they would never be able to become a core disciple of the Blood God Palace. Now, it seemed that they were wrong. Now that the opportunity was right in front of them, how could they not be excited? "You did a good job this time. You allowed me to capture a 6th grade human sovereign realm demonic beast." Venerable Spiritual Rune was very satisfied and said, "Before coming to the Great Xia Kingdom, I observed the missions in the mission hall of the Blood God Palace. One of the missions is to kill Ningyu, and the reward seems to be quite high. After you kill Ningyu, cut off his head and bring it to the mission hall of the Blood God Palace. You will be able to exchange it for a generous reward." "Thank you, Venerable Spiritual Rune." Feng Wen and the first prince of the Launching Kingdom hurriedly said. Since Venerable Spiritual Rune had said so, it meant that he had treated them as his own people. As the saying goes, leaning against a big tree is good shade. Venerable Spiritual Rune's tree was not an ordinary tree, but a towering one. "Ningyu, you heard what Venerable Spiritual Rune said. Are you going to kill yourself, or did you want us to do it?" Feng Wen stared at Ningyu and said proudly, "You can save yourself a lot of pain if you do it yourself. Once we do it, you will suffer hellish pain." "Is that so?" Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Of course." Feng Wen said coldly, "In my life, there is no such thing as suicide." Ningyu said faintly, "You are a 1st grade human sovereign, and so am I. You might not be able to win against me." "Might not?" Feng Wen was stunned at first, then he laughed wildly. "I will let you know what true strength is." As soon as the word strength was said, Feng Wen rose from the ground and disappeared in an instant. Bang! Not long after Feng Wen's body disappeared, Ningyu threw a punch. In the void, a figure was forcefully thrown out. "What?" Looking at the familiar figure that was thrown out of the void, the first prince of the Launching Kingdom, Lan Chen's expression changed drastically. Feng Wen, the person who was thrown out, was different from what Lan Chen had imagined. Impossible. Lan Chen's expression was ugly. Feng Wen's strength was only slightly weaker than his. Even Feng Wen was knocked back in one move. One could imagine that even if he were to fight against Ningyu, he would not have a good ending. Chapter 10:53. Fear. Nothing is impossible. Ningyu did not continue to attack after pushing back Feng Wen. Instead, he spoke indifferently. "Ningyu, don't you dare be so arrogant." Being pushed back by Ningyu, Feng Wen felt a little embarrassed and coldly said, "I was careless earlier. You won't be so lucky for the second move." As he spoke, Feng Wen stomped on the ground and charged out once again. Venerable Spiritual Rune, isn't Feng Wen being a little impulsive? Lan Chen knitted his brows when he saw Feng Wen attacking without any regard for his life. "You go as well." Venerable Spiritual Rune was a 6th grade sovereign, so how could he care about Feng Wen's life? After a brief pondering, Venerable Spiritual Rune barked, I'll see what this Ningyu is capable of. I'll go as well. Lan Shun was a little dumbfounded as he stood in the spot. The current situation was clear. Phone 1, who had launched his second attack, was being pushed back. At this moment, even if he went up to help, it would be no different from throwing his life away. Venerable spiritual rune, why don't we? Lan Shun did not want to die for nothing. Venerable spiritual rune coldly snorted and interrupted Lan Shun. I don't want to repeat myself. Whoosh. Lan Shun's body trembled when he was scolded by Venerable spiritual rune. Venerable spiritual rune was a 6th grade sovereign, and offending him would definitely not end well for him. Gritting his teeth, Lan Shun's silhouette burst out and instantly joined the battlefield. Lan Shun was only slightly stronger than Feng Wen. Even if the two of them joined hands, they still wouldn't be Ning Yu's opponent. Dark Emperor, Ning Yu doesn't seem to want to kill those 2 first-grade sovereigns. Up in the sky, Ning Yu and Feng Wen were engaged in an intense battle. On the other side, Earthshaker said with his brows knitted. Indeed, he doesn't want to kill them. The Dark Emperor nodded and said, with Ning Yu's strength, he would probably be able to kill Feng Wen and the others in less than 3 minutes. Now that 5 minutes have passed, Ning Yu is still tied with them. What should we do? Earthshaker asked. Let's go. The Dark Emperor sourly glared at Earthshaker and said, the situation is clear. You deal with the 6th grade mortal sovereign, the spiritual rune Venerable. As for the remaining 2 5th grade mortal sovereigns, Ning Yu and I will take one each. I'm no match for a Venerable of spiritual tattoos. Earthshaker knew his own strength very well. In a short fight, he could stall the Venerable of spiritual tattoos. But if it took too long, he would definitely be killed by the Venerable of spiritual tattoos. Nonsense. I also know that you are no match for Venerable spiritual tattoo. The Dark Emperor said in a deep voice, you only need to stall the Venerable of spiritual tattoos. After Ning Yu and I kill the 2 5th grade mortal sovereigns, we will go help you. At that time, the 3 of us will be able to fight against the Venerable of spiritual tattoos. Sigh, I guess it's the only way. The Dark Emperor sighed. Poochie, Poochie. Suddenly, in midair, Ning Yu grabbed the opportunity and threw out 2 punches, hitting Feng Wen and Lan Shun's hearts. 2 sounds of blood being spat out could be heard. Feng Wen and Lan Shun fell backwards simultaneously. Bang! Bang! Their bodies hit the ground and a crisp sound was heard. Feng Wen climbed up from the ground with difficulty and pointed at Ning Yu. He said fiercely, with your strength, why? Puff! Halfway through his words, Feng Wen blacked out and fell to the ground again. At this moment, Feng Wen of the Feng clan of the Lanqing country died on the spot. I admit that I have underestimated you. Compared to Feng Wen, Lan Shun was much better. After all, Lan Shun was slightly stronger than Feng Wen. The next time I see you, I will definitely turn your bones into ashes. Lan Shun walked towards the Venerable of spiritual tattoos. With the Venerable of spiritual tattoos by his side, Lan Shun did not believe that Ning Yu would dare to attack again. Reality proved that Lan Shun's guess was correct. Ning Yu did not dare to attack. However, Lan Shun had neglected one important thing. The next moment, Lan Shun's mouth opened wide and his pupils doubled in size. His face was filled with disbelief. Puff! Pulling out the flying sword from Lan Shun's heart, the Venerable of spiritual tattoos said, the Blood God Palace has spent so many resources to raise your cultivation from the Yin-Yang realm to the 1st grade human supreme. I never thought that the 2 of you together would not be a match for Ning Yu. Therefore, there is only one outcome for the 2 of you, and that is death. Venerable of spiritual tattoos, Ning Yu's strength is indeed very, very puff. Lan Shun's eyes widened. Just as he was about to defend himself, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lan Shun only had the cultivation of a grade 1 human sovereign. Furthermore, he was a grade 1 human sovereign that relied on resources. How could he escape from the Venerable of spiritual tattoos? Furthermore, the Venerable of spiritual tattoos had only used 10% of his strength to kill Lan Shun. The people of the Blood God Palace are indeed overbearing. They even kill their own people. Ningyu returned to the side of the Earth Shaker and the Dark Emperor and said, "Venerable of spiritual tattoos, you killed Phone 1 and Lanshan now. Are you going to kill the two fifth-grade human sovereigns next to them?" Whoosh! Ningyu's words caused the expressions of the two fifth-grade human sovereigns to change slightly. In the Blood God Palace, the Venerable of spiritual tattoos was famous for being a deviant. The words he said a moment ago would be eaten by him the next moment. The two fifth-grade human sovereigns beside the Venerable of spiritual tattoos were somewhat worried. Nonsense. The Venerable of spiritual tattoos said coldly, "Phone 1 and Lanshan are only from the Lanshan Kingdom. They have nothing to do with the Blood God Palace. I killed them because they were too weak. They couldn't even defeat a piece of trash like you." Haha, are they weak? To tell you the truth, not only could they not kill me, but the two fifth-grade human sovereigns beside you also couldn't kill me. Ningyu said with a faint smile. They are both fifth-grade human sovereigns. Even they couldn't kill me. Are you shameless enough to kill them too? Ningyu's current appearance was completely fearless. The Venerable of spiritual tattoos muttered in his heart. He more or less knew what happened at the gate of Tianshan City. He wasn't afraid of Ningyu, but the Sword of Evil. The Sword of Evil also disappeared after the frenzied killer left. One must know that the Sword Nefarious Venerable was an initial phase 7th grade sovereign. Now that Ningyu was fearless, did that mean that the Sword Nefarious Venerable had returned? I have to find a way to inform the Blood Ghost Ancestor and ask him to come here as soon as possible. The Venerable of spiritual tattoos secretly used a secret method. The Blood God Palace had sent a 7th grade human sovereign to the Great Xia Kingdom in order to completely eradicate the Corpse Een sect in the Great Xia Kingdom. The 7th grade human sovereign was called the Blood Ghost Ancestor. In the Blood God Palace, the Blood Ghost Ancestor's status was even higher than most of the elders. This was because the Blood Ghost Ancestor had a trump card that could even kill an 8th grade human sovereign. Ningyu, I know that your Ning family was occupied by Shun Tu Hao. How about we make a deal? I can help you deal with Shun Tu Hao, and you only need to join the Blood God Palace. Chapter 1054. Slap each other. Are you sure you can help me deal with Shin Tu Hao? Ningyu frowned and said hesitantly. The spiritual rune Venerable's cultivation was only at the 6th grade human supreme realm. As for Shin Tu Hao, he was a 7th grade mortal sovereign. In addition, Shin Tu Hao was the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion's great elder, so he definitely had many hidden cards in his hands. Ningyu did not believe that the Venerable Spirit Tattoo was Shin Tu Hao's match. Shin Tu Hao can't even protect himself right now. As long as I help, do you still need to worry about not being able to solve the problem of the Ning family? The spiritual tattoo Venerable smiled and said, "Moreover, it won't be long before the Xia Kingdom is occupied by the Blood God Palace. At that time, I can recommend you to be the ruler of the Xia Kingdom." It sounds tempting. After pondering for a while, Ningyu changed the topic and said, "Unfortunately, I don't believe your words because you are a cultivator from the Blood God Palace. Courting death." With a low shout, the Venerable of spiritual tattoos stamped on the ground and rushed to Ningyu. The Venerable of spiritual tattoos was furious. "If you don't want to cooperate with me, then why are you talking so much? What a waste of time." The Venerable of spiritual runes was very smart, extremely smart. Through his conversation with Ningyu, he was almost certain that the Sword of Evil behind Ningyu was definitely not here. Since the Sword of Evil, that 7th grade human supreme, isn't here, what do I have to fear? Therefore, the Venerable One immediately rushed out, and his target was Ningyu. The Venerable of spiritual tattoos wanted to tear Ningyu into pieces and grind his bones into ashes. Whoosh! As soon as the Venerable of spiritual tattoos rushed out, Earthshaker took a step forward and stood in front of Ningyu. "Earthshaker, no matter what, you have to hold on for half an hour." Leaving those words behind, Ningyu charged towards the nearest 5th grade sovereign with the red demonic sword in his hand. Shio! Venerable Spiritual Tattoo had brought 2 5th grade supreme martial artists with him. Ningyu would deal with one, and the other would naturally be dealt with by the Dark Emperor. After advancing to second grade sovereign, the Dark Emperor's strength had undergone a qualitative leap. Although he couldn't be compared to Ningyu, he should be able to contend against ordinary 5th grade sovereigns. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Tianxian City, in the courtyard of Snow Domain Pavilion. On the 3 battlefields, 6 martial artists were fighting intensely. The one who fought with Ning Yu was an old man in a gray robe. He was a late-stage 5th grade human supreme. The one fighting with the Dark Emperor was an old man in blue, a middle-stage 5th grade sovereign. Compared to the Dark Emperor, although Ning Yu was facing a late-stage 5th grade sovereign, with the help of the Red Demon Sword, Ning Yu still had the upper hand. Solitaire. With the Red Demon Sword in hand, Ning Yu slashed out a sword wave in the air. A huge sword wave blasted towards the gray-robed old man. Chi-Chi. Facing the huge sword wave, the gray-robed old man flicked his finger. Instantly, a cold gleam flew out and came into contact with the sword wave. With a crisp sound, both the sword wave and the cold gleam dissipated. Solitaire was only the 6th form of the supreme 9-purity sword art. Even if Ning Yu had cultivated it to the ultimate level, its power was still limited. I have to find a way to get the last few forms of the supreme 9-purity sword art. Ning Yu secretly made up his mind. The next time he met a martial artist from the Supreme 9 Purities Temple, he would definitely find a way to force them to hand over the last few forms of the Supreme 9 Purity Sword Art. The Supreme 9 Purity Sword Art was no less terrifying than the Netherworld Samsara Palm. However, Ningyu had only mastered the first 6 forms. Otherwise, with the Red Demon Sword, Ningyu could easily kill a 5th grade sovereign using the Supreme 9 Purities Sword Art. Oomph. You dare to be distracted while fighting me? You're asking for death. Seeing that Ningyu was slightly distracted, the gray-robed old man let out a low roar. Immediately, the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness gathered on his wrist, and he blasted out a terrifying Yuan Qi light wave. Crack! The Yuan Qi light wave was about the size of fist. Although it wasn't big, its power was abnormally terrifying. Not good. Ningyu paid a huge price for this distraction. Bang! The Yuan Qi light wave arrived in front of him in the blink of an eye, fiercely smashing into his chest. With a muffled sound, Ningyu's body flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Kid, your strength is only SOSO. After succeeding in his attack, the gray-robed old man did not continue his attack. Instead, he stopped on the spot and said proudly, "Among the 1st grade sovereign, you can be invincible. You can even fight against 3rd grade sovereigns," but at this point, the gray-robed old man paused for a moment, then continued, "I'm a 5th grade sovereign. You're not even qualified to carry my shoes." Is that so? At this moment, not only was Ningyu not worried, he became extremely calm. Putting away the Red Demon Sword, Ningyu said in an emotionless tone, "I'm a 1st grade human supreme martial artist, and you're a 5th grade human supreme martial artist. There's a huge difference between our cultivation levels, but in terms of vitality, you're no match for me. The density of my Yuan Qi is not as good as yours." The gray-robed old man seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He first laughed wildly, then shouted coldly, "Kid, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. Let's exchange a punch. If you can survive, I promise to leave your corpse intact. Are you sure you want to exchange punches with me?" Ningyu's eyes widened in surprise. Soon, Ningyu revealed an ecstatic expression and said, "In the past, a peak 4th grade sovereign from the Blood God Palace exchanged punches with me. I accidentally killed him. Don't think that you're a late 5th grade sovereign. You won't have the upper hand if you exchange punches with me." Arrogant, the gray-robed old man bellowed. Immediately, the Yuan Qi in his sea of consciousness gushed out and gathered on his right hand. Whoosh! As the Yuan Qi on the gray-robed old man's right hand increased, the surrounding air was compressed with his right hand as the center. "You're giving me a chance by exchanging punches with me." Originally, if Ningyu wanted to kill the gray-robed old man, he would need to use many trump cards and consume a lot of energy. The gray-robed old man agreeing to exchange punches with him was giving him a chance. Divine Essence Pill. With a thought, Ningyu quietly took out the Divine Essence Pill from his storage ring. The Divine Essence Pill could restore the exhausted Yuan Qi to its peak state in a short period of time. With the Divine Essence Pill, Ningyu wasn't particularly afraid of exchanging punches with the gray-robed old man. If my Yuan Qi is exhausted, I can consume the Divine Essence Pill to instantly replenish my Yuan Qi. Ningyu didn't believe that the gray-robed old man had such a high-grade elixir. Brat die. The gray-robed old man stomped on the ground, and his figure burst out in a flash. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived before Ningyu. His fist that contained terrifying Yuan Qi headed straight for Ningyu's head. This fist was very powerful. If Ningyu was unfortunate enough to be hit in the head, he would have to say goodbye to his life. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled for life. Universe Palm. At this critical moment, Ningyu didn't panic at all. The Yuan Qi in his body poured out, and he even wrapped his early 7th grade soul force around his wrist. Chapter 1055. To Kill. Bang! The palm and fist collided, and a muffled sound rang out. Kid, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. A sinister smile appeared on the gray-robed elder's face. A sinister voice suddenly rang out. Devouring power. Ningyu's expression was very ugly. The gray-robed elder's fist contained not only terrifying Yuan Qi, but also an even more terrifying devouring power. The devouring power caused Ningyu's heart to palpitate. All right. Suddenly, Ningyu's mind moved, and he began to communicate with the sapling. The sapling was the world tree, so ordinary devouring power couldn't even resist it. Ha ha! Ningyu laughed out loud after hearing the news from the sapling. He lost his mind. Ningyu's actions caused the gray-clothed old man's eyebrows to raise as he said, Although I have the upper hand in our fight, there is no need for you to go crazy. Sigh. Then the gray-robed old man sighed and said, I, Zhao Guan, originally didn't want to kill you, but you've already gone crazy. If I don't kill you, you won't be able to survive in the future. I can only kill you and then mince you into mincemeat. Take care of them? Who are you going to look after? Ningyu revealed a perplexed expression when he heard the old man's words. He said, Did your parents not use their brains when they named you? Take a look at what a stupid name this is. Kaka. Zhao Guan was so angry that his nose became crooked. He asked Zhao Guan not to look after him. Zhao Guan took a deep breath and retracted his devouring power. Since Ningyu was mocking him like this, he decided not to kill Ningyu first. Instead, he would slowly torture Ningyu and let Ningyu taste the 18 types of torture from the Blood God Palace. The devouring power has weakened. The weakening of the devouring power on his palm naturally did not escape Ningyu's senses. Sapling, don't expose yourself. I'll play with him. Since Zhao Guan withdrew most of his devouring power, Ningyu was no longer afraid of him. Gathering all the essence in his palm, Ningyu suddenly exerted force. Immediately, a horrifying shockwave blasted at Zhao Guan's fist. Up until now, Ningyu's palm was still in contact with Zhao Guan's fist. Insignificant skill. As a 5th-grade human sovereign, Zhao Guan was extremely confident in the density of his Yuan Qi. Facing the shockwave on his fist, he controlled his devouring power and swallowed the shockwave as well. Pucci. At this moment, the outcome of the battle on the other side of the battlefield was about to be decided. The blue-clothed old man took advantage of the Dark Emperor's carelessness and punched the Dark Emperor's body. The enormous force sent the Dark Emperor flying, and his body smashed into the wall. Bang! The abnormally sturdy wall collapsed after being hit by the Dark Emperor. Not good. Sapling, quickly attack. Seeing that the Dark Emperor had been defeated, Ningyu couldn't care less anymore. He immediately communicated with the sapling and had it deal with Zhao Guan's power of devouring. Buzz. Upon receiving Ningyu's order, the sapling darted out from the interspatial ring and instantly approached Zhao Guan's fist. What is this? Not good. When Zhao Guan first saw the sapling, he was a little puzzled, not knowing what it was. However, Zhao Guan's expression changed drastically when he sensed the terrifying devouring power emanating from the sapling. The devouring force emitted by the sapling was a lot more terrifying than his own devouring force. The two of them weren't even on the same level. Universe Palm, but it was this 1 second of distraction that allowed Ningyu to seize the opportunity. Opening his mouth and devouring the divine essence pill, Ningyu used all the strength in his body to execute a palm seal. Rumble. In the air, the blood-red Qian character grew bigger and bigger. Not long after, the sky character arrived in front of Zhao Guan and abruptly smashed into his heart. Bang! A tearing pain came from his heart, causing Zhao Guan's face to contort into a hideous expression. The pain in his heart was not what Zhao Guan was most worried about, because before the palm seal hit his heart, he had gathered all the primordial qi in his body on the surface of his heart to block Ning Yu's fatal attack. What worried Zhao Guan the most was the sapling in front of him. The sapling had already swallowed his devouring power, and now it had begun to devour him. Damn it! Zhao Guan was very upset. He was upset that he hadn't killed Ningyu in advance, now that he had used all his primordial qi to block the universe palm. How could he spare to deal with the sapling? Spirit Tattoo Venerable. Helpless, Zhao Guan could only ask for help from Spirit Tattoo Venerable. Trash. Spirit Tattoo Venerable had the upper hand in the battle with Earthshaker. Just as he was about to gain an overwhelming advantage, Zhao Guan's cry for help was heard. Hold on for 3 seconds. Spirit Tattoo Venerable didn't want to save Zhao Guan, but he had no other choice. Zhao Guan was Blood Demon Ancestor's man. If he didn't save Zhao Guan, when Blood Demon Ancestor came, he would be dead. Forcing Earthshaker away, Spirit Tattoo Venerable waved his hands, tore the void, and went in. Where are you going? As long as Earthshaker wasn't a fool, he would never let Spirit Tattoo Venerable save Zhao Guan. Obviously, Earthshaker wasn't a fool. He launched his most powerful attack at the void. Poof! In the void, Spirit Tattoo Venerable was eager to save Zhao Guan, so he took a blow from Earthshaker. The attack of the Earthshaker Divine Ox wasn't just for show. No matter what, the Earthshaker Divine Ox was still a 6th grade sovereign. His all-out attack had caused the strength of the spiritual rune Venerable to drop by 20%. Ningyu, let Zhao Guan go. I can. After taking a blow from Earthshaker, Spirit Tattoo Venerable was not far from Zhao Guan and Ningyu. Before Spirit Tattoo Venerable could finish his words, his eyes widened and veins popped out on his forehead. Crack! Ningyu held the red demon sword and swung it down. So it's a world. Zhao Guan finally understood at the moment of death. The sapling was no ordinary object. It was the world tree. However, Zhao Guan was destined to bury the name of the world tree deep in his heart. He would never be able to say it for the rest of his life. Ningyu, you're finished. No one in this world can save you. Spirit Tattoo Venerable said fiercely, I won't kill you. I'll keep you alive until Blood Demon Ancestor comes to finish you off. What is Blood Demon Ancestor? After killing Zhao Guan, Ningyu controlled the sapling to return to the storage ring and frowned. Blood Demon Ancestor is a 7th grade human supreme. He's the person in charge of the Blood God Palace in the Lanqing Nation and the Great Xian Nation. Spirit Tattoo Venerable said coldly, Zhao Guan is Blood Demon Ancestor's man. How can he let you go after killing him? Do you think that I'm scared? There are at least 87th grade Sovereign Realm sovereigns that have died in my hands. A mere blood ghost ancestor is nothing in my eyes. In fact, Ningyu was right. In his previous life, there were indeed many 7th grade mortal sovereigns that died in his hands. The reason why Ningyu dared to say this to Spirit Tattoo Venerable was because he received a message from the Sword of Evil. Chapter 10:56. Prideful. The spiritual rune Venerable widened his mouth as he couldn't believe his ears. The Blood Demon Ancestor was extremely powerful. Even a 6th-grade sovereign like him couldn't withstand 3 moves from the blood demon ancestor. Just what courage did Ningyu have to speak such words? Ningyu, looks like you have no idea how powerful the blood demon ancestor is. I'll capture you first and kill you when the blood demon ancestor arrives. The spiritual rune venerable's gaze was cold as he charged forth. Not good. Seeing the spiritual rune venerable charging out, the faces of the Earthshaker and the Dark Emperor changed as they hollered. Retreat. Just when the Earthshaker and Dark Emperor wanted to charge out, Ningyu grabbed onto their shoulders and swiftly retreated. What's going on? The Dark Emperor and Earthshaker were dumbfounded when Ningyu grabbed onto their shoulders. Boom! What happened next caused the Dark Emperor and Earthshaker to squint their eyes. A muffled sound resounded. The 6th-grade sovereign spiritual rune venerable was like a broken kite as he fell from the sky. Rustle. The sudden change not only shocked the Dark Emperor and Earthshaker, but even Ningyu narrowed his eyes. Initial phase 7th-grade sovereign. Facing the spiritual rune venerable, 2 blurry silhouettes gradually appeared. The difference in cultivation between the 2 silhouettes was a little huge. The younger one was only a 1st-grade sovereign. The older one was an initial phase 7th-grade sovereign. Who is it? Wiping the blood from the corner of his lips, the spiritual rune venerable coldly said, "Why did you make a move against me?" Although the spiritual rune venerable looked furious on the surface, he was inwardly cautious. The fact that the initial phase 7th-grade sovereign realm before him could appear without anyone noticing and launch a sneak attack proved that he was powerful. Being questioned by the spiritual rune venerable, the older cultivator felt a little awkward as he replied, "I'm sorry, but our target is Ningyu, not you. It's a mistake. Forget it. I'm not the kind of person who won't forgive others. I won't argue with you today, but I'll never see you again." The venerable of spirit runes waved his hand, then tore open the void with both hands and entered. The enemy was too strong, and they were no match for them. They could only retreat first. Whoosh! Now that the spiritual tattoo venerable had left, the blue-robed supreme martial artist also tore open the void and disappeared. Ahem! After venerable spiritual tattoo left, the elder martial artist coughed twice and turned to the young martial artist beside him. "Young master, are you sure that Ningyu is the martial artist who killed Kumo in the Elixir Cave of Great Xia Kingdom? No wonder he could kill Kumo. So he's a grade 1 human sovereign." The cultivator addressed as young master had no expression on his face. He said indifferently, "Eastern War venerate, go and guard the entrance. Without my permission, do not let anyone in. I want to deal with this Ningyu personally." Yes. The Eastern War sovereign's figure flickered and he instantly disappeared. "If I've guessed correctly, you should be Dan Yen," Ningyu said with a grave expression. "Haha, very good. You actually know that I'm in the Elixir Cave." The young martial artist smiled and continued, "You can call me Eldest Young Master." Eldest Young Master? Ningyu was a little stunned. The division in the Elixir Cave was really strange. If there was an Eldest Young Master, then wouldn't there be a Young Master? That's right, there's a Young Master in the Elixir Cave. As if he had guessed Ningyu's thoughts, the Eldest Young Master said indifferently, "Eldest Young Master's cultivation is at least in the Supremacy realm. Furthermore, you can lead an army of half-step Supremacy pill puppets. You're very confident in your strength. You think you could defeat me?" There were less than 8 minutes before the Sword of Evil returned. Against the Eastern War Sovereign, Ningyu wasn't absolutely sure that he could last 8 minutes. But against this so-called Eldest Young Master, Ningyu was absolutely sure that he could last 8 minutes. If he used his trump card, Ningyu might even be able to kill him. Dan Yan's strength isn't something you can figure out. "If I want to kill you, it's even easier than killing an ant," the Eldest Young Master said indifferently, not taking Ningyu seriously at all. "I'm curious about one thing." After a slight pause, Ningyu asked, "Are you a Dan Yen formed by soul power or a Dan Yen formed by vitality?" "Why do you ask?" the Eldest Young Master asked doubtfully. "You're too stupid. If Ningyu asks this, he definitely wants to devour you." "Idiot, trash, stupid, fool. Before Ning Yu could answer the eldest young master, the Dark Emperor beside him shouted, "Swoosh!" Hearing this, the eldest young master's expression turned ugly. A dog dares to be so arrogant to me? He's simply courting death. The eldest young master's motive was to subdue Ning Yu and have Ning Yu follow him to conquer more pill caves. As for the Dark Emperor, he wasn't part of the eldest young master's plan. What if he was angry? Kill, of course. Not only did the eldest young master think so, but he also put it into action. You're just a grade 1 mortal sovereign. I don't believe that you're that strong. Looking at the incoming eldest young master, the Dark Emperor's eyes suddenly widened and 2 cold rays shot out from his eyes. What happened next left the Dark Emperor dumbfounded. Just as the cold light was about to reach the eldest young master, the eldest young master opened his mouth and swallowed a whole. Gulp! The Dark Emperor instantly stopped and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. It can even devour the cold ray shot out from my eyes? What the F***, CK? Isn't this too abnormal? Watch out! The Dark Emperor's momentary daze made him pay a heavy price. The eldest young master grabbed the opportunity and threw a punch at him. The Dark Emperor wasn't in his peak condition to begin with. Now that he was punched in the chest, his aura dropped to the freezing point. Can't even withstand a single blow. After casually defeating the Dark Emperor, the eldest young master turned to Ning Yu and said, "I'll give you one last chance. Submit to me, or I'll make you wish you were dead." "You'll make me wish I were dead?" At this moment, all of the worries in Ning Yu's heart had been swept away. What he got in return was calmness. Dan Zhong had a nemesis, and this nemesis was on Ning Yu, the sapling. The sapling was the world tree, and it had a crazy suppressive effect on Dan Zhong. When the sapling was still a flower bud, it was already able to devour the half-step supremacy realm Dan Xiang. Now that the flower bud had turned into a sapling, Ning Yu didn't believe that the sapling wouldn't be able to deal with the grade 1 sovereign realm Dan Xiang. "Yes, I'll make you wish you were dead." The eldest young master nodded and said, "None of the people I want to kill have survived. It's obvious that I'll be the first to survive." Ning Yu shrugged. Arrogant. With a deep roar, the eldest young master charged out. His target was Ning Yu. The eldest young master's thoughts were simple. "If you don't submit to me, I'll kill you. I've already done my best to let you live for so long." Dark Emperor, Earth Shaker, enter the room first and try to recover to your peak condition. Leave the matters here to me. Ning Yu turned and said to Earth Shaker and the Dark Emperor. Chapter 1057. Increase in Soul Power. Ning Yu, I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Therefore, I will kill you and then devour you. The young master laughed wildly. I will let you know that no one who offended Dan Shi. However, just as the eldest young master's maniacal laughter was heard, it stopped abruptly. Because the eldest young master had discovered something extremely terrifying. A sapling that wasn't too big was floating in the air in front of him. A terrifying, devouring power shot out from the sapling. Retreat. The eldest young master was not the indecisive Dan Shi. A deep fear rose in the depths of his heart. Without a second word, he immediately retreated. Where there's life, there's hope. You want to leave? Not so easy. The East Warlord was still outside the snow pavilion. Once the young master left, the consequences would be unimaginable. The sapling could control the young master and even devour him, but it wouldn't be so effective against the East Warlord. Stop the young master and buy time for the sapling. Ning Yu's hands began to move rhythmically. Universe palm. As Ning Yu shouted in a low voice, a blood-red palm print appeared and blasted in the direction of the eldest young master. The huge Shin character exploded when it got close to the young master. The aftermath of the terrifying attack raged towards the young master. Block it. At the critical moment, the young master's soul power surged out and formed a soul power shield in front of him. I see. It's a Dan Shi formed from soul power. Sensing the terrifying soul force fluctuations emanating from the eldest young master, Ning Yu revealed an ecstatic expression. His soul power had been stuck at the early 7th grade for a long time. If the sapling could devour the young master and return some pure soul power, he was 80% confident that his soul power could break through to the middle 7th grade. Strictly speaking, the universe palm was a soul attack. The stronger the soul power, the more powerful it would be. If his soul power could be raised to the middle 7th grade, he could instantly kill a 5th grade human supreme. He could even fight against a 6th grade human supreme martial artist. Sapling, you can enjoy yourself this time. Ning Yu quickly communicated with the sapling. This is just an appetizer. As long as you refine it and feedback all your soul power to me, I can guarantee that you can devour that early stage, 7th grade, human supreme venerable Dan puppet outside. Buzz. The sapling swayed in the air, its meaning self-evident. Ningyu, do you think you can kill me like this? Too young. Seeing that the sapling was about to reach him, the young master yelled, East War Venerable, come and save me. Go ahead and scream. No one will come to save you even if you scream yourself hoarse. Ningyu's lips curled up into a smile. To tell you the truth, the sapling in front of you is a manifestation of the world tree. If your pill puppet clan runs into it, the only fate awaiting you is death. You won't have any chance to escape. What? World tree. The young master's pupils shrank. Ningyu was right. Their pill puppet clan's battle prowess was comparable to ancient demonic beasts in a one-on-one fight. The only thing they were afraid of was the world tree. In ancient times, the patriarch of the pill puppet clan was said to have died under the suppression of the world tree. How could the young master not be shocked when he saw the world tree reappear? Furthermore, the patriarch of the pill puppet clan had predicted that the reappearance of the world tree would be the time of the pill puppet clan's catastrophe. Anyone who saw the world tree had to pass the message back at all costs, even if it meant death. Ningyu, I didn't expect you to have the world tree. The young master calmed down after a lot of thoughts flashed through his mind. He clasped his hands together, and from his ankles, he suddenly started burning. Spontaneous combustion? Ningyu was puzzled by the eldest young master's actions. Not good. 2 seconds later, Ningyu came to a realization. The young master wasn't trying to spontaneously combust, but was using a secret technique to inform the pill puppet clan. Tree sapling, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and devour the young master before something unexpected happens. Ningyu hurriedly shouted. Buzz. While Ningyu was anxious, the tree sapling wasn't. It first punched a few times in the air, then tore the soul force barrier in front of the young master and attached itself to the young master's chest. Chi, an extremely terrifying devouring power emitted from the tree, sapling, and drilled into the young master's body. The moment the devouring power entered his body, the young master let out a hysterical roar. The feeling of being devoured pained the young master greatly. Ningyu, it doesn't matter if I die, but you'll have to endure the endless pursuit of the pill puppet clan. Before the young master could finish the word kill, he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body turned into nothingness. Swoosh! A beam of soul force shot out from the tree, sapling, and instantly entered Ningyu's body. So much soul force. So many soul force fluctuations caused Ningyu to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. According to Ningyu's guess, this amount of pure soul force was enough to raise his soul force to the mid-7th grade. Crack! While Ningyu was refining the pure soul force in an unknown space, a few old men were trembling, not daring to speak. An illusory voice rang out in the area. The Eastern Expedition Army has sent some vague news. It seems that they've found something on the pill puppet list in the Great Xia Kingdom. Send a few 8th grade human supreme martial artists to the Great Xia Kingdom to investigate the situation and inform me. After the 2 sentences were spoken, the area returned to its previous tranquility. The 3 or 4 old men looked at each other. They could all see the shock in each other's eyes. What did the Eastern Expedition Army find that attracted the old ancestors' attention? An old man asked doubtfully. Could it be that the Eastern Expedition Army found the top 10 items on the pill puppet list? Another old man frowned. Impossible. The last old man said in a deep voice, which one of the top 10 items on the pill puppet list isn't occupied by experts? If I'm not wrong, the strongest expert of the Easter Expedition Army around the Great Xia Kingdom is the Eastern Warlord, an early 7th grade human supreme martial artist. No matter what, let's send an 8th grade human supreme martial artist to the Great Xia Kingdom. The old ancestor has spoken. If we don't send someone over, we won't have a good time. The old man who spoke first murmured, "Who?" At the same time, in the inner courtyard of the Snow Pavilion in Tianxin City of the Dazhou Kingdom, Ningyu slowly breathed out a mouthful of murky air. A slightly excited expression appeared on his face. The strength of a mid-7th grade soul force. Ningyu didn't expect that he could raise his soul force to the mid-7th grade in such a short time. After all, only 5 minutes had passed. Chapter 1058. If I encounter a spiritual tattoo venerable again, I can fight him head-on. Withdrawing all of his soul force into his body, Ningyu muttered, "Eastern War Venerable probably hasn't discovered that I've killed the young master. I can use this time to rest and adjust my mental state to its peak." Although he had improved his soul power to the middle 7th grade, Ningyu knew that he was still no match for East War Venerable. East War Venerable was a powerful Dan puppet at the early 7th grade human supreme realm. Ningyu was confident that he could compete with a spiritual tattoo Venerable, but not with East War Venerable. Crack. However, Ningyu had only rested for 2 minutes when he heard a crisp sound. Rumble. Following the crisp sound was a rumbling sound. Ningyu hurriedly released his perception. Sword of Evil. With his keen perception, Ningyu discovered that there were 3 experts fighting in front of the Snow Pavilion. Ningyu was very familiar with 2 of the martial artists. One was the Sword of Evil, and the other was East War Venerable. As for the last one, Ningyu was not familiar with him, but he could guess the identity of the spiritual tattoo Venerable standing next to him. Blood Ghost Ancestor. 3 early 7th grade human supreme realm, Sword of Evil, East War Venerable, and Blood Ghost Ancestor from the Blood God Palace. At this moment, the 3 early 7th grade human supreme realm experts were fighting each other, with no one gaining the upper hand. Blood Ghost Ancestor, why don't you and I join hands to kill this stupid human? The battle lasted for a few minutes, and then stopped. East War Venerable rolled his eyes and said to Blood Ghost Ancestor, "There's a saying among humans that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If we join hands, we can kill this early 7th grade human supreme realm expert. Isn't it a piece of cake?" "Hee hee, your damn puppet is very interesting," Blood Ghost Ancestor said with a smile. "In that case, I'll join hands with you to kill the Sword of Evil first." "Humph. Do you think that you can kill me by joining hands?" The Sword of Evil coldly snorted and said, "Look who this is." As he spoke, the Sword of Evil flicked his wrist and tossed out a head. Voila! When the onlookers saw the head tossed to the ground by the Sword of Evil, their pupils constricted and they looked incredulous. A bloodthirsty maniac. The head on the ground belonged to the frenzied bloodlust demon. After a period of pursuit, coupled with the special method Ningyu had told him, the Sword of Evil finally found an opportunity to kill the frenzied killer demon. Crazed bloodlust demon was a person with 9 life providences. Not only had the Sword of Evil killed him, but it had also devoured all the energy in his body. In other words, the strength of the Sword of Evil had recovered to the peak of the early 7th grade human supreme realm. He was only half a step away from the middle 7th grade human supreme realm. The Blood Ghost Ancestor knew how powerful the frenzied bloodlust demon was. Even he couldn't defeat the frenzied bloodlust demon at its peak. The fact that the Sword of Evil could kill the frenzied bloodlust demon meant that the Sword of Evil had some ability. Let the East War Venerable and the Sword of Evil fight. I'll wait for an opportunity to strike. The Blood Ghost Ancestor said calmly, "East War Venerable, I suddenly realize that there's something I need to do in the Blood God Palace. Hold the Sword of Evil back for now. We'll be right back." Swish, swish. The blood ghost ancestor grabbed the spirit rune Venerable and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Damn it. The East War Venerable's face turned ugly when he saw the blood ghost ancestor's departure. He wasn't 100% confident that he could kill the Sword of Evil in a one-on-one fight. Right. The East War Venerable suddenly thought of a way to force the Sword of Evil to submit. Ningyu. As long as the eldest young master captured Ningyu and used Ningyu as a hostage, the Sword of Evil wouldn't hold back. The corners of the East War Venerable's mouth curled up as he coldly said, "Sword of Evil, Ningyu is in our hands. If you know what's good for you, you'd better stop now. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what will happen." Ningyu is really in our hands? The Sword of Evil looked at the Sword of Evil as if he was looking at a fool and hesitated. Turn around and see who that cultivator is. Who? The East War Venerable's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly turned his head. The East War Venerable's heart sank to the bottom with a single glance. In his eyes was Ningyu, not the eldest young master. Where's the eldest young master, Ningyu? The East War Venerable couldn't wait to kill Ningyu, but he knew that he couldn't do so now. At the very least, he couldn't act rashly before he knew the eldest young master's safety. If anything happened to the eldest young master, he couldn't afford to bear the consequences. You're asking me? Ningyu pointed at his own nose and immediately changed the topic. He said coldly, "Who do I ask? If I have to answer everyone who asks me a question, won't I be exhausted to death?" Crack! The East War Venerable gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. Ningyu was simply asking for a beating. The hatred in his heart would not dissipate until he killed Ningyu. East War Venerable, are you still thinking of using Ningyu to threaten me? The Sword of Evil's voice rang out in a timely manner. If you don't hand over the eldest young master today, I'll kill you. The East War Venerable unleashed his aura and pressed down on Ningyu. In the face of the pressure, Ningyu wasn't afraid at all. Instead, he walked towards the Sword of Evil step by step. Chi! Chi! The East War Venerable's pressure wasn't too powerful. It only slightly slowed down Ningyu's pace. You're courting death. Seeing that the pressure had no effect, the East War Venerable decided to personally kill Ningyu. Since Ningyu wasn't willing to reveal the eldest young master's whereabouts, it meant that the eldest young master was likely to be killed. If the eldest young master was killed, the East War Venerable was destined to be punished. Therefore, the East War Venerable vented all his anger on Ningyu. He wanted to grind Ningyu's bones to ashes. With me around, if you can still kill Ningyu, how am I supposed to show my face in this continent? The Sword of Evil charged towards the East War Venerable with the low-grade Emperor flying sword in his hand. Rumble. In the air, the Sword of Evil and the East War Venerable started fighting. Without the blood ghost ancestor holding him back, the East War Venerable gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. If this continued, the East War Venerable would definitely be defeated. I have to think of a way. As the East War Venerable fought with the Sword of Evil, he secretly thought of a countermeasure. It was impossible to escape. Not in this lifetime. The eldest young master was trapped, so he could only hold back Ningyu and the Sword of Evil. He believed that it wouldn't take long for Danzhong's Eastern Expedition Army to send a Grade 7 Supreme over. At that time, he could join forces with the Grade 7 Supreme sent by the Eastern Expedition Army to kill the Sword of Evil. Wouldn't that be a piece of cake? Right now, he only needed to hold back the Sword of Evil. The Blood Ghost Ancestor and the Spiritual Rune Venerable are still hiding in the void. Raising his head to look at the intense battle between the Sword of Evil and the East War Venerable, Ningyu's expression turned a little grave. If the Sword of Evil went all out, he could kill the East War Venerable. Chapter 1059. Unbelievable. Spiritual Tattoo Venerable. Are you sure Zhao Guan was killed by that Grade 1 Human Supreme? Blood Ghost Ancestor frowned and asked in confusion. That's right. Although Ningyu is only a Grade 1 Human Supreme, he is very powerful. Spiritual Tattoo Venerable nodded and said, Zhao Guan was careless. so Ningyu seized the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Humph! What are you doing? You are a grade 6 human supreme. Can't you kill a grade 1 human supreme like Ningyu? Blood Ghost Ancestor snorted with an ugly expression. In the Blood God Palace, everyone knew that Zhao Guan was protected by him. Now that Zhao Guan was killed, wouldn't he become a joke when he returned to the Blood God Palace? I also want to kill Ningyu, but East War Master suddenly appeared. He is an early-stage grade 7 human supreme. I'm not his. Spiritual Tattoo Venerable said with a sad face. Slap! Before Spiritual Tattoo Venerable could finish, Blood Ghost Ancestor slapped him in the face. I don't care about the process, only the result. Blood Ghost Ancestor said coldly. Good. I will go kill Ningyu now. Spiritual Tattoo Venerable gritted his teeth. Go, don't let me down. Blood Ghost Ancestor waved his hand and said, with East War Master holding him back, the Sword of Evil can't attack you. Swish! Spiritual Tattoo Venerable didn't say anything. Instead, his figure flashed and quietly approached Ningyu. In fact, Spiritual Tattoo Venerable was only worried about the Sword of Evil. Without the Sword of Evil, he would have killed Ningyu long ago. Why would he wait until now? After all, he was in the dark while Ningyu was in the light. If he wanted to launch a sneak attack, Ningyu would have no chance to survive. Sword of Evil, if you go all out, how long will it take to kill East War Master? Ningyu did not know the conversation between Venerable Spiritual Tattoo and Blood Ghost Ancestor. At this time, Ningyu was communicating with the Sword of Evil, trying to solve the situation. Ningyu's thinking was very simple. The Sword of Evil attacked with all his might, attacking East War Sovereign. As for Patriarch Blood Ghost, he would hold him back. Half an hour. The Sword of Evil's reply caused Ningyu's expression to turn grave. As a first-grade human sovereign, it was a huge challenge for Ningyu to resist an early 7th-grade human sovereign for half an hour. Let's fight. Ningyu decided to give it a try, since he couldn't catch the wolf without risking the child. If he won, he would be able to get rid of a huge problem. If he lost, he would just have to say goodbye. A person's life is spent in constant choices. If you don't give it your all, what difference is there between you and a salted fish? Sword of Evil. Oh no! Ningyu was just about to tell the Sword of Evil to go all out, but his pupils shrank, and he quickly retreated. Die! The space in front of Ningyu suddenly split apart as a 6th-grade human supreme realm cultivator appeared from within. Venerable Spiritual Tattoo. Looking at the familiar figure in front of him, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. He only cared about talking to the Sword of Evil and ignored the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo. Universe Palm. At this critical moment, Ningyu hurriedly used his newly advanced 7th-grade middle-stage soul power, wrapped it around his wrist, and pushed out with his palm. You overestimate yourself. Because Ningyu had suppressed his soul power inside the palm, in the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo's view, Ningyu's palm was not very powerful. With a flick of his sleeve, a cold light flew out and came into close contact with the blood-red palm. As for the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo himself, he charged at Ningyu at an extremely shocking speed. The Venerable Spiritual Tattoo's action made Ningyu a little confused. It was so much so that Ningyu even doubted how the spiritual runed Venerable reached the 6th-grade sovereign realm. His palm print was so powerful. Could it be that the Venerable of Spiritual Runes was blind? Oh no! It turned out that the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo was not blind, but he was too confident in himself. When the cold light he flung out was shattered by the blood-red palm, the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo finally reacted and hurriedly used a spell to block the blood-red palm. Whoosh! The battle between the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo and Ningyu caused a huge uproar in the surroundings. Although the East War Venerable and the Sword of Evil were both early 7th-grade human sovereigns, and their battle was rather exciting, the focus of everyone's attention was on Ningyu and the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo. That was because there was a huge gap between Ningyu and the Venerable Spiritual Tattoo. One was a 6th-grade human sovereign, while the other was a 1st-grade human sovereign. The spectators might not be able to witness a battle between a first-grade human sovereign and a sixth-grade human sovereign in their entire lives. Therefore, no one wanted to miss this opportunity. Whoosh! After blocking Ning Yu's first palm print, the venerable of spiritual tattoos heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that it was a close call. Fortunately, he reacted at the crucial moment. Otherwise, he would have failed miserably in the first move. Ning Yu, I admit that I underestimated you. But from now on, you won't be so lucky. Taking a deep breath, the venerable spiritual tattoo continued. You can be proud of yourself for being able to block one of my moves as a first-grade human sovereign. Why should I be proud? Do you really think that you could defeat me? Ning Yu asked in doubt. Ha ha ha. The venerable spiritual tattoo raised his head and laughed before he coldly said, I, the venerable spiritual tattoo, only need one move to kill you. Noisy. These two words came out of Ning Yu's mouth. Then, he rose from the ground and charged towards the venerable. Originally, it was the venerable spiritual tattoo who launched a sneak attack on Ning Yu. But in the end, it was Ning Yu who took the initiative to attack the venerable spiritual tattoo. He had to admit that this was really ironic. I wonder if Ning Yu can defeat the venerable spiritual tattoo. Defeat? You're overthinking it. If Ning Yu can defeat the venerable spiritual tattoo, I'll twist my head off. That's right. There's a huge gap between Ning Yu and the venerable spiritual tattoo. Ning Yu is too arrogant. If I were him, I would have escaped long ago. Why would I stay and die? The surrounding martial artists were not optimistic about Ning Yu taking the initiative to attack the venerable spiritual tattoo. A first-grade human supreme martial artist defeating a sixth-grade human supreme martial artist was too shocking. Ain't Yun. Ning Yu has already passed the hurdle of the frenzied massacre demon. This time, it's time for you to help him, right? Among the crowd, two martial artists were conversing in low voices. These two martial artists were none other than Yun Mu and the martial talisman Venerable. The martial talisman Venerable slightly frowned and said, I can save him, but I have to let him suffer a little first. Aunt Yun, the venerable spiritual tattoo, is a sixth-grade human sovereign. Ning Yu is definitely not his match. Yin Mu hurriedly said, I know that Ning Yu is not the venerable spiritual tattoo's match, but it won't be easy for the venerable spiritual tattoo to kill Ning Yu. At most, he will only be able to heavily injure Ning Yu. The martial talisman Venerable faintly said. Furthermore, even if what? The martial talisman Venerable abruptly stopped halfway through his words. That was because the martial talisman Venerable had discovered something terrifying. In the distance, Ning Yu's fist collided with the venerable spiritual tattoo's fist. Ah! The venerable spiritual tattoo let out a miserable shriek like a pig being slaughtered. Chapter 1060. Is it done? Crash. The sudden change caused an uproar in the surroundings. The spiritual tattoo Venerable was a grade 6 human supreme. How could he be killed in one move? Furthermore, the most shocking thing was that the spiritual tattoo Venerable was devoured into a pile of flesh. Ning Yu can't be so powerful. He's only a grade 1 human supreme, yet he can kill a grade 6 human supreme. Could it be that the spiritual tattoo Venerable isn't at his peak? Impossible. The spiritual tattoo Venerable has always been at his peak. The reason why Ning Yu was able to kill him was because Ning Yu suddenly released an extremely powerful devouring power. The last cultivator's words shocked everyone. Devouring power. No matter when, devouring power was a terrifying existence. How terrifying was Ning Yu's devouring power to devour the spiritual tattoo Venerable into a pile of flesh in such a short period of time. One must know that not long ago, when the Dark Emperor devoured number 9 at the city gate of Tianxin City, everyone was extremely shocked. Now that Ning Yu had devoured the Venerable of spiritual runes in an even shorter time, everyone's shock could no longer be described as indescribable. They could only be described as dumbfounded. You're courting death. Seeing that the spiritual tattoo venerable was killed, the blood ghost ancestor instantly dashed out of the void and charged at Ningyu at an astonishing speed. First, Zhao Guan was killed, and now the spiritual tattoo venerable was killed. The anger in the blood ghost ancestor's heart reached its peak. Chi! Everyone in the blood god palace knew that when the blood ghost ancestor was enraged, blood would flow like a river. Blood ghost ancestor, who was in a state of rage, squeezed the air so hard that crackling sounds rang out wherever he passed. Not good. Seeing that the blood ghost ancestor was about to reach Ningyu, the sword of evil forced the East War venerable back and instantly stood in front of Ningyu. His fist collided with the blood ghost ancestor's fist. Bang! A crisp sound rang out, and both the sword of evil and the blood demon patriarch retreated several feet in unison. The sword of evil and Ningyu killed Zhao Guan and the blood demon patriarch in succession. No one in the world can save him. Blood ghost patriarch said coldly, "Today Ningyu must die. East War sovereign." Then Ancestor Blood Ghost turned to look at East War Sovereign and said in a deep voice, "You and I will join forces and kill the Sword of Evil." "Are you talking to me?" East War Sovereign pointed at his nose and said, "Just now, I wanted to join forces with you to deal with the Sword of Evil, but you didn't agree. Now you want to join forces with me to deal with the Sword of Evil? Ha, no way." You. Ancestor Blood Ghost's face was gloomy, on the brink of a violent rage. The Sword of Evil was very powerful. Without East War Sovereign's help, Patriarch Blood Ghost was not confident that he could defeat him. "The Sword of Evil, you actually dare to come back." Just as Ancestor Blood Ghost was feeling troubled, a powerful voice sounded from the distant horizon. Shua! Not long after, a figure tore through the void, speeding over. Shun Tu Hao. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared, Ancestor Blood Ghost said, "The peerless geniuses of her 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion were all slaughtered by the Sword of Evil, and even the crazy bloodthirsty demon was killed by him. Don't you think it's a bit too late for you to come over?" "Humph." Ancestor Blood Ghost. "I, Shun Tu Hao, do not need you to judge how I do things." With a cold snort, Shun Tu Hao said, "The crazy bloodthirsty demon was trash. Even the Sword of Evil couldn't kill him. If he died, then he died." "Ha! Shun Tu Hao, the current situation is already very clear. The two of us will join hands and kill Venerable Sword Evil first." Faced with Shun Tu Hao's rebuke, the Blood Ghost Ancestor was not angered at all. Instead, he laughed. "We can join forces, but the precondition is that we have to kill the two of them together." Shun Tu Hao fiercely glared at Venerable Sword Nefarious and Eastern War Venerable. 9 of my peerless geniuses were killed by Venerable Sword Nefarious and Eastern War Venerable, while a 4th grade sovereign was killed by this Danming. You mean to say that the disappearance of the people in Profound Sky City was caused by the East War Sovereign? Ancestor Blood Ghost said hesitantly. "Of course," Shun Tu Hao said coldly. "You and I will join forces and kill the East War Sovereign and the Sword of Evil. In the end, we will each take one of their corpses." "All right." Without thinking too much, Ancestor Blood Ghost agreed to Shun Tu Hao's suggestion. Ancestor Blood Ghost was very shrewd. Among the 4 early 7th grade sovereigns present, the Sword of Evil was the strongest, followed by him and Shun Tu Hao, and the East War Sovereign was the weakest. If the two of them joined forces, killing the Sword of Evil and the East War Sovereign shouldn't be a problem. Dark Emperor, Earthshaker, how long will it take for the two of you to recover to your peak state? While Ancestor Blood Ghost and Shun Tu Hao were talking, Ningyu started to talk to the Dark Emperor and Earthshaker. Ningyu's thoughts were very clear. The crazy bloodthirsty demon had already been killed by the Sword of Evil, and the 9 peerless geniuses of the 1st grade sovereign realm were also dead. The Ning family's defense must be very weak right now. If the Earthshaker and the Dark Emperor went over now, they wouldn't need to spend too much effort to chase away the experts of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion, or even kill them all. It might be a little difficult to recover to our peak state. The Earthshaker said, But if I join forces with the Dark Emperor, killing a 5th-grade sovereign realm shouldn't be a problem. You take the 8-legged centipede and immediately head to the Ning family. You must eliminate all the forces of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion in the Ning family. Ningyu said solemnly. Understood. The Dark Emperor and the Earthshaker responded, then tore through the void and disappeared. As Shun Tu Hao and the rest's attention was on the Sword of Evil, no one noticed the departure of the Earthshaker and the 8-legged centipede. Eastern War Sovereign. Not long after the Earthshaker and the Dark Emperor left, Ningyu knew that he had to do something to delay Shun Tu Hao. After pondering for a moment, Ningyu said in a clear voice, Ancestor Blood Ghost, and Shun Tu Hao joined forces. Do you want to join forces with us? It's not impossible to join forces with me. As long as you release the eldest young master, I will join forces with you to deal with Shun Tu Hao and the rest. Even now, the Eastern War Sovereign was still thinking about the eldest young master. Shrugging his shoulders, Ningyu said, Now that things have come to this, I don't want to hide it from you anymore. The eldest young master is still alive. When Ningyu spoke of panic, he did not even frown. You must join forces with us to deal with Shun Tu Hao and the Ancestor Blood Ghost. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that the eldest young master will not be killed by me. Ningyu licked his lips and said, The eldest young master's soul force is very vigorous. Good. I agree to join forces with you. The Eastern War Sovereign nodded his head heavily and said, But leave the Ancestor Blood Ghost to the Sword of Evil, and leave Shun Tu Hao to me. No problem. Ningyu smiled. Have you discussed it? While Ningyu and the Eastern War Sovereign were talking, the Ancestor Blood Ghost and Shun Tu Hao did not stop them. Chapter 1061. Come, not yet. Ningyu waved his hand at Shun Tu Hao and said, Although you guys aren't young anymore, there's no need to be so anxious. Young people should be more energetic, and old people shouldn't lose their vitality. Ningyu's words made everyone's faces black. How could you say such words to 2 initial 7th-grade Sovereign Realm sovereigns? You're courting death. Sure enough, as soon as Ningyu's voice fell, Ancestor Blood Ghost cursed loudly and was the first to rush toward him. The Blood Ghost Ancestor couldn't take it anymore. He wanted to kill Ningyu first before dealing with the Sword of Evil and East War Sovereign. Let me. Seeing that the Sword of Evil wanted to help, Ningyu took a step forward and said in a solemn voice. Ningyu's action once again caused everyone to be shocked. How much confidence did he have to face the Blood Ghost Ancestor head-on? Isn't Ningyu a little too daring? The Blood Ghost Ancestor is a 7th-grade Sovereign Realm sovereign. He's extremely powerful. It's not that he's daring, it's that his head was kicked by a donkey. In my opinion, Xiao Chun must have lost his mind. He must have a high fever, and his brain must have become muddled. You want to face me head-on? Just as expected, Ningyu's action caused the Blood Ghost Ancestor to be slightly stunned. Ever since he advanced to 7th-grade Sovereign Realm, no one had ever dared to face him head-on. What's more, his opponent was only a 1st-grade human supreme martial artist. Ningyu, I'll let you know the consequences of being arrogant before me. The Blood Ghost Ancestor let out a low roar, then poured the energy in his body into his wrist and threw a punch towards Ningyu. PSSSD. The might of the Blood Ghost Ancestor's punch had reached a terrifying level. Not to mention a 1st-grade sovereign, even a 3rd or 4th-grade Sovereign Realm sovereign wouldn't be able to withstand it. Aunt Yun quickly saved Ningyu. In the distance, Yun Mu saw that Ningyu was about to take the Blood Ghost Ancestor's punch head-on. Don't worry, I want to see where Ningyu gets his confidence from. The Talisman Martial Supremacy said lightly. Aunt Yun, it'll be too late if we delay any longer. How could Ningyu be a match for the Blood Ghost Ancestor? Yun Mu was so anxious that she was about to cry. Oof. Venerable Talisman Martial glared at Yun Mu before fixing his gaze on Ningyu. Supremacy Talisman Martial also believed that Ningyu could block Blood Ghost Ancestor's punch. However, for some reason, Supremacy Talisman Martial wanted to see Ningyu and Patriarch Blood Ghost fight. He wanted to see the gap between Ningyu and Patriarch Blood Ghost. Bang! The next moment, Ningyu and Blood Ghost Ancestor's fists collided. Kacha! A crisp sound came from Ningyu's fist. Puffed. After that, a large mouthful of blood sprayed from Ningyu's mouth, and his body was blasted flying. Ha! Ningyu, I only used 50% of my strength in this punch. I didn't expect that you couldn't even block it. If I used my full strength, you would have been killed by me long ago. Succeeding in one move, Blood Ghost Ancestor threw his head back and laughed wildly, charging towards Ningyu again. Since he decided to kill Ningyu, Blood Ghost Ancestor would not hold back. On the surface, he said that he only used 50% of his strength. In reality, that was not the case. In order to kill Ningyu in one move, he used a full 80% of his strength. Who would have thought that a punch with 80% of his strength could not even kill Ningyu? Helpless, he could only attack a second time, striving to kill Ningyu domineeringly. Good chance. How could the Sword of Evil miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Everyone thought that Ningyu was arrogant and overestimating himself, but that was not the case. Ningyu had already secretly discussed with the Sword of Evil that he would take Blood Ghost Ancestor's move head-on. At that time, Blood Ghost Ancestor's emotions would definitely fluctuate. At that time, the Sword of Evil would attack powerfully, striving to severely injure Blood Ghost Ancestor. Ningyu die. Oh no. For the second move, Blood Ghost Ancestor used all his strength. Seeing that his fist was about to hit Ningyu's heart, Blood Ghost Ancestor could not help but laugh wildly. However, before his fist hit Ningyu's heart, Blood Ghost Ancestor's expression changed drastically. Without thinking much, he immediately retreated. Poof! At this time, Blood Ghost Ancestor wanted to escape, but it was obviously too late. In the blink of an eye, the Sword of Evil appeared beside him, holding a low-grade royal rank flying sword, and stabbed it into his body. Damn it! Fortunately, Blood Ghost Ancestor slightly tilted his body at a critical moment. Otherwise, just the Sword of Evil's sword would be enough to take his old life. Go! Although the Sword of Evil didn't stab his heart, Blood Ghost Ancestor's aura also dropped a lot. Clenching his fists tightly, Blood Ghost Ancestor didn't even say a word before tearing through the void and disappearing in an instant. Blood Ghost Ancestor's sudden departure made Shun Tuhao's expression very ugly. Originally, he and Blood Ghost Ancestor could easily defeat the Sword of Evil and the Eastern Warlord if they joined forces. Now that Blood Ghost Ancestor had fled alone, how could he fight against two? Swish! Sometimes, it really was a case of rain falling on a roof. At the end of the street, a figure ran towards them in a sorry state. Not good, Great Elder, not good. The figure shouted as he ran. Bai Peng, what's the matter? Shen Tuhao said coldly. Just now, two experts suddenly killed their way into the Ning family and killed all the people we left in the Ning family. The warrior called Bai Peng didn't even have time to catch his breath and hurriedly said. After saying this, Bai Peng took a deep breath. However, there was still a trace of fear in his eyes. Who broke into the Ning family? Shen Tuhao was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Not only did he not get to Jiuding the Venerable on this trip to Tianxin City, but it also caused him to lose a lot. First, the 9 peerless geniuses were killed, then the crazed killer was also killed, and even the people he left in the Ning family were uprooted. Only Bai Peng, a third-grade human sovereign, was left alive. If Bai Peng died, he would only be left with a single commander. Pucci. Bai Peng didn't let Shun Tuhao down. His eyes suddenly rolled back and he died on the spot. Swish! After Bai Peng died, a figure sped over from afar. The Dark Emperor. This figure was none other than the Dark Emperor. Coming to Ning Yu's side, the Dark Emperor said, "It's settled. No one from a Ning family was injured. Earthshaker and 8-legged centipede stayed in the Ning family. I'm here to kill that third-grade human sovereign." No need. That third-grade human sovereign is already dead. He's over there. Ningyu pointed at Bai Peng and said, "This Bai Peng isn't simple. He withstood 3 of my moves and didn't die. He even made it here." The Dark Emperor said with a solemn expression, "He's indeed very strong." There aren't many third-grade human sovereigns who can withstand 3 of your moves. Ningyu added, "Today, all of you will die." The conversation between Ningyu and the Dark Emperor caused Shun Tu-Hao's entire body to tremble in anger. "Shun Tu-Hao, aren't you being too optimistic?" Ningyu shrugged and said, "The blood demon ancestor has already escaped, and your wings have all been removed by us. What do you have to fight against us? Haha, if you think that I'm only an early 7th grade human sovereign, then I can tell you that you're too naive." Chapter 1062. Conference Hall Boom. When Shin Tu-Hao's words rang out, everyone in the region had completely quietened down. The silence was suffocating. Boom! The silence did not last for long, before it was broken by a soaring aura. Many cultivators looked at Shun Tu-Hao with fear. 7th grade, intermediate sovereign. Shun Tu-Hao was not an initial 7th grade sovereign, but a 7th grade, intermediate sovereign. Ningyu, I've realized that you're a troublemaker. Everything that happened in Profound Sky City recently was more or less related to you. Shun Tu-Hao said indifferently, "Because of your stupidity, I've decided to slaughter the entire Ning family after I kill you." An ominous glint flashed across Shun Tu-Hao's cold eyes. Stepping on the ground, Shun Tu-Hao's entire body leapt up, bringing along gusts of wind as he charged towards Ningyu. Rustle. Seeing Shun Tu-Hao charging out, the sword of evil also shot out in an instant. His galloping figure seemed to have torn apart the obstruction of the air, arriving before Shun Tu-Hao in the blink of an eye. In that instant, the two figures clashed together without dodging. Boom! In that instant of impact, violent origin energy abruptly spread out. An extremely powerful shock wave constantly swept out in all directions. Crack! The hard ground was shaken by the shock wave, and a tiny crack appeared, emitting a cracking sound. The two figures separated upon contact, each taking a few steps back before stabilizing their figures. From the distance that the two of them retreated, it was clear that Shun Tu-Hao had the upper hand in this move. Interesting, very interesting. After that move, Shun Tu-Hao did not continue to attack. Instead, an arc rose from the corner of his mouth as he said, "Ningyu, sword of evil, I'll let you live a little longer. 3 days later, I'll come and take your lives." Buzz. Shun Tu-Hao's figure gradually turned illusory. In the end, he even completely dissipated between the heavens and earth. "Ningyu, are you going to let Shun Tu-Hao go just like that?" Seeing Shun Tu-Hao leave, the Dark Emperor frowned. "What else?" Ningyu spread his hands towards the Dark Emperor and said, "If you can kill Shun Tu-Hao, you can chase after him. I won't stop you." "Don't. I still want to live a little longer," the Dark Emperor hurriedly said. To chase after Shun Tu-Hao? What a joke. Shun Tu-Hao was a 7th grade middle stage supreme martial artist. His strength was abnormally abnormal. The Dark Emperor only had the cultivation of a grade 2 human sovereign. Unless he raised his cultivation to grade 3, he would be courting death if he fought with Shun Tu-Hao. "Let's go." Ningyu didn't want to waste time here. Shun Tu-Hao was a sinister and cunning person. If he were to turn back halfway and kill his way into the Ning family, wouldn't that be the end of it? The most important thing now was to first return to the Ning family, and then think of a way to get rid of Shun Tu-Hao. Shun Tu-Hao and the Blood Ghost ancestor were both formidable opponents. Although they were all heavily injured, it was still very easy for them to launch a sneak attack on a Creation Realm martial artist. "You can't leave." Hand over the young master. Ningyu and the others had only taken a few steps when the Eastern War Lord shouted in a deep voice, "If you want the young master, go to the Ning family tomorrow evening." Ningyu didn't even turn his head. After leaving these words, he disappeared. Crack. Looking at Ningyu's departing figure, the Eastern War Lord clenched his fists, and a cold expression appeared in his eyes. Tianjin City, Ning family. Conference Hall. At this moment, the conference hall was filled with many martial artists and demonic beasts. Those who had originally stayed in the Ning family were Ning He, Ning Tang, the Silver Winged Dragon, the twin-horned beast, Duan Chung, and Ouyang Luan. Those in the storage ring were the lightning wolf king, Qin Xiang, the gold-devouring demon lion, and the fire-divine eagle. The Ning family was able to escape danger this time, all thanks to these two seniors. Ning He sat on the main seat of the conference hall, and even his voice was trembling a little. In the conference hall, apart from Ning Tang, Ning He's cultivation was the lowest. He felt pressured when Ning Yu insisted that he sit on the main seat. Ning Yu, did you hear that? Your grandfather calls me senior. Are you going to call me senior too from now on? Being addressed as senior by Ning He, the Dark Emperor immediately raised his nose and said proudly, "Come, call me that." Bang! Ning Yu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and kicked him out of the conference hall. You stay outside the conference hall obediently. Without my permission, you are not allowed to take half a step into the conference hall. Since the Dark Emperor dared to tease Ning Yu naturally wouldn't let him have it easy. If you don't want to go in, then don't go in. I don't care. The Dark Emperor pursed his lips and then rolled his eyes. He stared at Earthshaker and said, "Old Nyo, don't stay inside. Let's go out and have a chat." Earthshaker's face was full of black lines. He turned his head and pretended not to hear. "You offended Ning Yu yourself. Don't drag me down with you." Boring. Seeing that Earthshaker was ignoring him, the Dark Emperor shrugged and immediately lay on the ground lazily and listlessly. "Grandfather, I plan to make some contributions to the Ning family this time." After getting rid of the Dark Emperor, Ning Yu said to Ning He, "Call all the younger generation of the Ning family to the martial arts practice field. I have something to announce." "Sai, all right, I'll do it now." Ning He had long wanted to leave. To be honest, he was under great pressure in the conference hall. Now that he had the chance to leave, he immediately got up and left. "Wait for me." Seeing Ning He leave, Ning Tang hurriedly followed. Ning Tang's cultivation was lower than Ning He's. Even his legs were trembling a little. After Ning He and Ning Tang left, Ning Yu's gaze slowly swept across everyone in the conference hall. "Among you, many people and demonic beasts have followed me through fire and water. I'm very grateful to you." After pondering for a moment, Ning Yu said in a clear voice, "I won't hide it from you. The next 3 days are related to the Ning family and my personal safety. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. If you want to stay, I'll welcome you with both hands." After saying that, Ning Yu closed his eyes and waited quietly. Tick, tick, time was ticking away. Everyone in the conference hall looked at each other. No one said anything. With the Sword of Evil, an early-stage 7th grade supreme martial artist, around and displaying his aura, who would dare to leave? Leaving at this time was no different from courting death. Very well, since no one wants to leave, I'll talk about the plan for the next 3 days. 10 minutes later, Ning Yu slowly opened his eyes and said lightly, "According to my estimation, the Eastern War Venerable will not come alone tomorrow. If I'm not wrong, he will join forces with the Blood God Palace's ancestor Shui Gui and the 9 Furnace Divine Pavilions Shun Tu how to attack the Ning family. At that time, all people and demonic beasts whose cultivation is lower than the supreme martial artist realm will hide in the Ning family's forbidden area. No matter what happens, they are not allowed to come out. All martial artists whose cultivation has reached the supreme martial artist realm, follow me to the martial arts practice field." Swish! After saying that, Ning Yu was the first to leave the conference hall and walk toward the martial arts practice field. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.